Okay. Oh, Jonathan.
Yes.
We are ready. Okay. Without further ado, at 9:10 a.m., I'd call this meeting of the board retreat to order. First, I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded, and I'd like to ask for a roll call, please.
Director Carmichael.
Here.
Hobart.
Here.
Brent.
Here.
Copper.
Here.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Here.
Wonderful. Perfect. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, Anaskoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Before we begin, any member of the public may speak on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board of directors that are not on the agenda. The board will not take any action on items that are not on the agenda except as provided by law. Since we have no public comment requests in person, do we have any on Zoom?
We just had someone join on Zoom. So
Perfect, we can give it a second.
You want to ask that again?
Yes. Do we have any public comment on Zoom or in person?
Yeah. No.
Alrighty. Seeing none, I will close out the initial public comment section, bringing us to our discussion and action items, starting off with our budget survey and community priorities review.
Hey,
Yes.
if you were on the finance committee, you got a preview of this. So we can see that bigger than the TV. We'll just do a quick agenda for the day. So one of the slides.
Yeah.
Budget survey and town hall debrief. So we'll go over the results of the survey, and then those of you who are at the town hall, please speak up and say like what you heard there. And then we have a strategic plan update. So we'll quickly review what you already heard at all the annual reports about what we got done. And then some proposed new things based on everything we've been talking about and the survey results. And then we'll get a look at the community dashboard. And then we'll talk about tax facts. So it's facts about the current tax, and then legal facts about a new tax, and financial facts about a new tax. And then we'll do a workshop to see if we want to design a new tax. And then finally, we'll talk about community relations and how the board can do that, more of that. Okay, so preliminary budget survey results. Just quick disclaimer, we closed the survey on Friday.
Okay. So
we ended up with 130 responses. That's more than a lot of other years. One year we had 400. I don't know if we're gonna get that again.
That was our first year.
That was our first year. And we had access to university announcements back then. So we don't as much anymore. So we still did a lot of tabling and Instagram and emails and lots of different things to get it out. But also, disclaimer, because we should disclaim it, since it closed on Friday, we didn't have human time to write the summary. So Google Gemini pre-produces some summaries for you based on the results. So we're using Google summaries, but we're all going to be making, now that it's closed, we'll read through it and have a human version for later in the summer. This is a quick version. So, survey results. So the way the survey works too, I mentioned this in another email, is the first section is people's perception of things, safety, representation, connection, and quality of life. And we asked them what's the biggest issue in Isla Vista first. It's always been our first question in our surveys. And then after we asked them the perception on something, we asked them, what do you want to see to make it better? Or how does this free response and survey response? Most important issues, people really brought up housing, cost of housing. If you read the raw results, it's really prominent. A lot of people talk about lack of governance and cityhood and over policing. And there's a huge nexus there, obviously, that we saw this year. People really care about cleanliness. It's always been a big thing in our survey since the beginning, is making IV cleaner. And then, yeah, there's discussions about safety issues like that have happened recently and that were in the press, the sexual assault. So we asked them, how represented do you feel? The results were not excellent on how represented people felt. It was a lot of neutrals. And then there was, people who are, lots of people not represented, lots of people who, good amount feel represented, but definitely an area of growth for Isla Vista. And this is, again, also Isla Vista as a whole. So it's not like they're saying they don't feel represented by IVCSD only, or specifically it's as a whole. Because our strategic goals are bigger than the district specifically of Isla Vista as well. And then we asked, like, what would make you feel more represented? And the answers were like organic cityhood questions. We hadn't even said the word cityhood yet in the survey, and a lot of people, when you read the results, bring it up on their own, and they just want to feel like they can have a say over what happens. It's the big issue. How safe do you feel? Good result. Lots of people feel pretty safe in IV. Only one person put very unsafe out of 123. So this is promising. Again, you'll see all these responses have a lot of neutral. So there's a lot of people who are in the middle who could potentially be swayed. So if all those neutrals or most of them went to the safe, we'd have 90% almost saying if they feel safe. And then what would make you feel safer? Again, the same things we've heard all the time over the years. More lighting, different policing is usually the answer. It's not like less or more, it's different. But there is discourse about there's too much and that makes people feel unsafe. And then just quality of life issues. And then how connected do you feel to the broader community? Again, lots of people feel connected. That's really good. I don't know if you get that in other cities, but this is another really good result, especially with the high turnover of town. People connected pretty quickly. And the answers here, this is the summary, but I read it and I know that the main answer was more events. People really want, we already have a lot of events, and IVRD has a lot of events. UCSB and student groups have a lot of events, but people were really fixated on getting together in person. That's the big ask. And then quality of life in your neighborhood. This is the clean question. It's a little lower, This one, it was 50 and 20. This one, it's 47 and 18. So, and then a bigger neutral though too. So they weren't necessarily going into bad. Maybe they were being polite. I don't know. Or maybe they're, something that we've said is maybe people don't have the expectation of higher quality here. So they aren't saying it's bad when it maybe is. But either way, this is a lower result than the other question. So definitely an area to, we can invest more in this to improve the perception. And yeah, the answers here were all over the place actually. But again, lots of people focus on the trash issue, which hopefully we'll have a lot of progress on next year. And then parking comes up a lot because that's one of the main concerns in Isla Vista, and housing came up a lot here too, which is unfortunate. It's a big area where we can't do that much compared to other issue areas. But you'll see in all the question summaries, housing quality and affordability comes up a lot. Okay, so that was the ratings of Isla Vista. And then next is we ask questions about how IVCSD itself is doing, our specific things. Soultopia, if you read the results on this, it's super positive. Like people really liked Soultopia. There were obviously suggestions to make it better, and so people said double down on the music. Like one of the answers, see, I did read them all. One of the answers said, I can buy my own food, but I can't make my own concert. Was one of the answers. It's like, yes, let's make like I couldn't organize a stage on my own and put someone on it and rent equipment. I can just go to the store and pay $10 for anything. So that was one of the responses, was focus more on the music and art and performance aspect. Less police, which we know is happening thanks to us having done it. So, it's all a chicken or egg scenario. Improving the lines, which Maya has like 10 ideas on how to improve the lines and make it better. Including more people, which again, we've got a plan for that too. And so
More volunteers, don't you mean?
no, like more businesses, more
Okay.
parts of IB. But yeah, pretty much all the suggestions were nothing that we didn't, hear already, and things that we already have in motion to fix. So make that, not fix, improve upon. And then we asked, like, did you get one of our parking flyers? And the reason there's a big no is because a lot of people don't park on the street tonight. Even like if you look at the totality of all the cars, only like maybe a third park in IP. So don't take the no as a bad thing. They did make it to everybody. It's just that a lot of people, it's actually a data point that a lot of people don't park on the street. A lot of people don't. And so then, yeah, this one, maybe we could have taken out the no out of this one and made it easier to see the people who actually got it and the yes. But the blue and the red, the dark blue and the red, those are the good answers. And then the green and the purple are the, so our flyers did do a pretty good job. So it says 11 and 17, but out of the people who actually got them, it's like way over 50% who thought they were helpful. So the flyers, our team made a good flyer. It takes everybody, right? Like Ellie puts it together graphically. Jenna will work on the substance of like, here's what the laws we want to do. Me and Sydney will review it. Maya will give the clearance on the brand. We all have a role in just one little flyer, right? And it's been successful. And then we asked like how we can make ourselves more visible and well known. And a lot, this is also one of those questions where like, yeah, we do a lot of these things already, but it's good to hear what we should double down on. Instagram clearly is like always the number one. And remember at the board, like annual report meeting, like, oh, we do so much on Instagram. It's like, oh, they want even more. Like we can't quench the thirst enough of like getting more information on Instagram. And we do spend a lot of staff time on that already. So that's why like Maya has talked about the in-person outreach person so that we can be digital and physical. And then, yeah, sorry for the small text. I don't know, it was way bigger originally. We asked about what we can do to, like, we're doing these things to respond to the public safety issues and like the cuts to the foot patrol. And we said, like, here's what we're trying to do: education, security, nightlife events, and ask people, are we on the right track? And overwhelmingly, people said yes. Yeah, so not much to say here, just people really supported our current approach of what we're trying to push. All right, and now the future-facing section of the survey. And, we asked if we had more funding, what do you want to see? Housing, again, number one. It is the number one thing in all the free responses, pretty much. But again, it's like the one we have the least control over. Parking, housing clean, more events, and more beautification. Nothing new here. I feel like the general results of this section, we ask this question every year too, and this is pretty much the same as always. And what's one improvement you'd hope to see? I don't think the summary did a great job because this is supposed to like be like singular things. So like summaries don't do a great job with it, but the things that I saw was like cityhood was big in this one. Like people wanted to see IB as a city, and they wanted to see like some kind of parking supply solution, which a permit system or parking structure would be the only two, and one costs millions more dollars more than the other. And then we asked them like, what are your we made a list of like actual things we might do in the future based on all our plans and discussions and everything that's happened. We asked people to rate their top 3. So the number 1 rated new service is the unarmed response on Friday and Saturday night to neighborhood issues. So that's like the Guardian team, like being deployed on Del Playa. So that's huge, like almost 50% of all survey responders picked that. And yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you say that you listed this or was
We made this
organically
list.
created?
Yeah. The first 2 questions were their organic opportunities, and then this was like us that's
Gotcha.
and these ended up not being too much different. Like the pre-made list, which they only saw by the time they got to this, was not that different than the pre-response answers, besides housing, which again, we cannot. I guess the cityhood application is the housing solution for people because that's the actual government entity that could do a lot more on housing on a local level. But the unarmed response got almost 50%. If you look at the crosstabs, which I did a little bit between like long-term residents and students, it's got, not bipartisan, but by resident support. Both groups of residents support this idea. And then permit program, number 2. A little surprised, but maybe not, because people, now that the parking compliance is happening, they realize like, okay, wait, the limited parking that exists should only be for us who live here and not others. And then second is mobility infrastructure. I personally thought services would do better because of what we've heard at past town halls, but infrastructure, strong, number 3. And then number 4 is the improvements to the loop, which included nightlife and business support and better lighting in the loop. Actually, the loop is one of the worst lit areas if you really look at it sometimes at night, especially Del Mar, horrible lighting. And also the sidewalk incompleteness, which is being worked on currently. But people really are, I was surprised too about this one in the downtown area of IV. There's high priority for it. And then after that is a cityhood application. People really want their city. And after that is Soltopia. So those are like the top things that people were looking at is parking, policing, Soltopia, cityhood, and mobility. And then, Camino Mallorca, lowest rated, but that's, it's like a visitor amenity, essentially. It will help residents, but it's hard for people to see the one-to-one connection because that would actually help parking supply and make a lot of people's life better. But, the permit program also does that too. So also just consider that. But people who are taking the survey have not read all the literature of like what is the problem and what needs to be done too, which is totally fine. Then we asked people if they'd support a tax. It was on the ballot to fund programs, and that was locally controlled. Got 60% yes, straight up, 30% maybes, and the maybe grew a lot at the end. Just so you guys know, like the no's and the maybes mainly came in the last week of the survey. The blue was much bigger earlier on, but either way, this is a great result. Very few hard no's. It was like less than 10%, or pretty much 10% hard no. And then we did, like, let's do an A/B test. Let's ask the question 2 ways. So we asked them like, would you support it annually and would you support it monthly? So we used 2 different sets of numbers, but the results were almost identical. The purple, which is the no, is about the 20 to 25%, and everything else is a mix, a healthy mix. I think when you use the monthly numbers, there's a bigger appetite for a bigger amount to raise in revenue. And so when you see it in annual figures, it's obviously a more shocking, it's a sticker shock, right? But it is the same amount. And we saw some diverse, solid support. And a funding measure takes 2/3 votes, so 66% of the vote. So there's potentially appetite out there for something. And then we did just demographics, so age, 80%, 18 to 24. That's pretty much what the census said. 80% are UCSB students. That's not surprising because that's pretty much what it is. How do people hear about things? Instagram, 75%. So there's no shortage of we can spend on cleaning and Instagram. I think those are two things that we can always do more about. And then word of mouth though is really high. So real life is also pretty strong. And local flyers, which is also real life, but in the physical world. So both are how people hear about things. And then interestingly enough, and big for what we're doing later today, UCSB clubs and organizations is pretty up there too. So we need to be talking to them more. Any question or discussion? Back to you, Pat.
Yeah, sorry, do we have any board question or discussion? I saw a bit of a sneak peek at the finance committee. Yes.
I had two things I was interested in.
Mhm.
I'm really interested in, people say housing, and it's interesting to me, I like to delve down into that. You know, is it supply, is
Oh,
it
yeah.
conditions? You know, just to delve into that a little bit.
It's affordability and conditions. And then some of it leaks into like we have no control or like powerless. But it's the affordability and the quality of the two top.
And then the other thing that struck me is that how people organically talked about being a city. And that's something else I wonder about. Like, what do people mean when they say they want IB to be a city?
Control.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Well, and so what struck me is, do people not know about IVCSD, or is it that they realize that that a city brings them more?
I think they realized that.
Okay.
And I would say it wasn't even like a coordinated hit on job on us to do that, because like the first responses, like the initial wave before anybody would have had a chance to notice without like organic responses coming in right away saying Ivy should be a city. Because I think there's been a lot in the press, and like there was a board in the park, like a signboard about cityhood. There was like multiple articles this quarter. So I think people are thinking about it.
Yeah, and I would add to that too, because that was something at the town hall, which we'll discuss more, but there were, I think a lot of people, it was like, they were kind of recognizing that like there's constraints to what IVCSD can do, and a lot of the concerns being raised, it was like, IVCSD can't fix that. And the only thing that really could address that would be like a form of local governance or the county responding to those things. And I think that was like where that conversation was happening. And then also to add on to that, in one of my classes, I presented on Isla Vista, and even before I got to anything about cityhood in the presentation, like people interrupted and were asking like, oh, we want to know like what's going on, like are we going to become a city? So I think there's just like this kind of wave of like interest, and I think Deltopia ordinance was like a really big thing for that.
I want to see your
Sure. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of students that like just that whole thing, it was kind of like they were joined together, like we don't want an ordinance, so we need cityhood.
But I do think there is like a biased population of people who are just more aware and like, well, more aware basically. And like we have to think like next year we're gonna have who knows how many more people coming into IV that weren't here for the Deltopia thing, and like again, we have to constantly be thinking about it. We have to reproduce the knowledge in some way that like to get people motivated.
But I think that's good news, though, that our earliest respondents reflected cityhood, because that's our most engaged people who are looking out for the survey, who are excited about that. You know, it's much easier to convince new people with no prior knowledge than to try to go back. You know, our long-term residents are against this idea. Yeah.
Just shifting gears a little bit, I just wanted to highlight that the results on safety are really compelling. 71% feels safe or very safe. We would not have gotten those results in a survey that we did our first year of operation or before we were born.
Out of the 10.
So I just think that is really a testament to the work that we've done and the culture shift that's happened.
Yeah. I did want to ask, like, in terms of those kinds of results, like, how much should we really be, like, basing things on this? Because it's 130 responses for a 15,000 person area. Like, I'm concerned about like, even with the utility tax conversation, like, obviously there was some really great
Texting Edward
support.
right now, sorry.
Oh yeah,
Go
no,
ahead,
obviously
go.
there's some really great support in the survey, but that's not representative of Isla Vista, I guess. And like, I don't know, personally, I don't know a single girl that lives in IV that would say they feel very safe in Isla Vista. Like, maybe that's biased, but like,
Yeah.
nobody that I know would walk along a night or anything like that. And so it's like,
Yeah, it's not a
It's just-
scientific
yeah.
survey at all.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just like wondering like how much we should be considering this in terms of like attacks or like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely just a snapshot of information and not the end all be all.
I mean, to Spencer's point, we are getting better, but also, you know, if we look at the slide 18, top three priorities for IV over the next year, mobility infrastructure, you said you were kind of surprised that got a lot of hits. I think
Over services.
Oh,
because
services.
In the mobility plan, it was the other way around.
Right, but with infrastructure, you have a lot of people. Lighting is the first one listed.
Yeah.
So like there is kind of more of an ask, and I think loop improvements also could have been a safety ask. So there are still a lot of asks for safety, but I like to Kylan's point, yeah, we have, you know, anywhere from 100 to 123 people responding to this, but what other data do we have?
And I didn't mean to suggest that we take our foot off the gas on safety issues. I just think that it is remarkable because I remember looking at the data.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah.
I do think
Your
there's
point is well taken.
very like there are definitely improvements for sure, but I'm just not worried about.
Yeah,
And I think it's telling too that like the number one thing that people want us to focus on is still related to safety when it comes to Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah.
oh, I wish we had the information on this, but I wonder what percentage of the people that respond to this are Isla Vista voters too.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother problem.
Yeah, we technically, you know, people who don't live in IV could have taken it. They
Yeah.
might live in IV next year.
But like even living in IV doesn't necessarily mean you're an IV voter.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'd have to pay to do a poll with like registered voters.
Oh,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah, that costs money.
Yeah, because I did see there were some responses that were clearly UCSB like living on campus, because I think there were even some like talking about RAs or like residence hall events. So I
Yeah.
was like,
Oh,
Yeah.
the person that was like talking about the code, is that in our jurisdiction?
The cove is not in our jurisdiction, but it is an issue that IV residents, like the long-term residents, complain about, and it's unincorporated, the cove. And so it's a no man's land because the city of Lida doesn't have it, UCSB doesn't have it, and IV doesn't have it, and it's in a different supervisory district. It's in the third
Wow.
district.
Is it Jones?
Yeah.
how does that even
Whoa,
work?
that's
Don't
crazy.
even, I don't know.
Or planning 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And
You
I
guys
thought
have
the
any-
ordinances applied to the code.
They do, just the Deltopia one.
Oh, just a.
I mean, all county ordinances apply to the code,
Right.
but like, they don't have control. IV has like, foot patrol. But they only have someone responding to a call.
Okay.
That might be a good thing to clarify, maybe. Or like, I mean, I think maybe some people like, it's a weird thing, you know, I don't think it's natural for anyone to assume that like, there's this random part of IV that just is completely out of.
It's not even part of IV. I don't know
Yeah.
how you want it could be seen as part of IV. It's part of the old cityhood proposals, but
Yeah,
it's way on the edge. Like,
Yeah.
It's past UCSB.
but I do think that a lot of people don't actually know the borders of it. Like most people consider Santa Catalina and that kind of housing, they think that's Isla Vista. So I think there's like that disconnect there where like, we understand that because that's, you know, important to IVCSD's jurisdiction, but I don't think most students really know like where IV begins or ends. to be
Yeah.
honest.
I was gonna ask if the staff, if you guys have any takeaways from what you read?
In general or about state?
In general.
I'm not surprised. I think that cleanliness is a never-ending battle here. And so hopefully the new waste ordinance will help with that, but that was not surprising and that's the same every year. As far as like people feeling safe, I wasn't too surprised about that either. I mean, I felt safe when I was here, but it depends what kind of safe. Like, there's safety walking around and being in a public space, but like then there's also safety being in the party scene. And that's, I think, where like the Friday night thing that you're trying to do would help. And so now that we're talking about it, I'm kind of thinking about that differentiation and how that might have an effect. But yeah, overall, I'm not surprised at most of the results.
Yeah, I would say it makes sense to me, especially, well, one that I was surprised about was more community events, because we do have a lot of community events in Isla Vista. And that kind of points to something else, I think, that maybe people aren't aware of all the community events and what they're like. And maybe sometimes when people think community events, they think like, oh, like it's gonna be boring. I don't know. Like, so I think maybe like rebranding what a community event is, making it super accessible. We have the community calendar, but we also know that most people get their information from Instagram. So trying to make that bridge more clear, I think, is something that came from this for me. The Soultopia feedback was not a surprise. It's a lot of the things we've already heard, but it's good to hear it reiterated. One thing that I thought was really great was the want for non-armed police responses. I wouldn't say I'm surprised, because I do think that that's been a conversation that has really grown a lot post-COVID. And I just think that makes the work that we're doing right now even more relevant, timely, and important. And I do think that the success of Soultopia had a lot to do with that. So it's cool to hear that being reflected. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was, well, those were the big things, I guess, for my department. But yeah, I think that that points to a bigger need for outreach in general, to bridge that gap.
Wait, okay, 2 comments. First of all, with the community like events thing, I feel like that's so subjective, because I think when people say that, they want more things like Soultopia, which just like isn't gonna happen. But like, I feel like maybe we need to be doing a better job of like branding other people's events, like Concert for the Coast and the IVRPD stuff, because like there's stuff always going on in the parks.
I completely agree. Someone at Soultopia came up to me and was like, this is awesome, like why don't we have this every weekend? And I'm like,
It's so
we do though, like
Yeah.
there's a concert in the park series, you know, there's always cool concerts in the park, but I really do think it comes down to like awareness and building excitement in the same way. Like
The excitement.
you know, like you all saw how much work went into Soultopia, and like I really explained to like our outreach team and our content and everything, like that's what's needed consistently. And I think that obviously it can't all fall on us either. Like it does have to be a collaboration between different organizations, but we gotta have something. I joked one time, which it's not really a joke, but you know, you'll get why, that we need to have someone on a bike with a megaphone every Monday, like saying all the events going on that week, like literally like driving down the street, you know, like some sort of like really active way that people are like, okay, what's going on in IV that's not the party that I'm hearing about on Saturday, you know? So
And then also, can the Guardians ticket people? Okay, so they can just tell.
They would tell people, hey, put your joint out, or hey, put that bottle away.
Okay.
Which is what they did at Soultopia.
yeah, and I think we're gonna get into this more a little bit later, but the model that the Guardians take is really about education, non-judgment, and awareness, and just getting people to obviously respect the rules, but without like an authoritative like criminalization of them, and also like to educate on like why they're there and to just kind of bring sense to it. I mean, they have a really cool peer integration model that will grow with the program that really tries to take people who are in the scene and make them kind of more aware of why the rules are there and that they're important, you know, but not to, you know, judge you for, you know, drinking or, you know, hanging out with your friends. I said that poorly, but yeah.
I'm wondering if we need a timekeeper.
Yes.
Oh,
We're
Almost.
going a little over on
Few
this.
more
and
minutes.
We
Okay.
have a very ambitious agenda.
Yes.
Few more minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just 2 quick things. First, when does the trash ordinance go into effect?
July 1st.
Okay, awesome. Very soon. And then I just wanted a +1 for it. I would love to drill down more into what people mean when they say events, because I wonder if it's not that they want more, it's that they want maybe fewer but a bigger scale.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say that as well. I think that it could be like a lack of awareness, and it could also be maybe they don't feel like the community events being hosted are the kinds that they want to see. Because I did see a lot of responses highlighting environmental specific events, like wanting more environmental events, I guess. So I'm thinking like maybe it's both. Maybe it's like they're not as aware, and maybe the events they are aware of aren't something they're wanting, I guess.
That makes sense.
But
I think that we're moving on, the last bit for me was to couch a lot of this for our outreach and relations. I think all of the problems we're touching on, including like low survey responses, are just outreach things. But any final burning questions, comments before our strategic plan update and goal setting? Do we have any public comment, either in person or on Zoom, before moving on? All right, getting into our strategic plan.
Okay, so here's our strategic plan framework review. Here's a much nicer way to look at it. I put the paragraph, no, wait. There's this thing that Sydney made that looks way nicer than how it works. So our strategic goals are like the things we want to achieve. Our outcomes are the things we measure to see if we're getting close. Our inputs are what we invest, and then our outputs is like what we do.
Where is that located? Is it on a drive?
This slide.
Mhm.
It's
We
in
got
the
an email.
slide
This
that
one,
emailed
was this
you.
in the morning?
Yeah, I sent this PowerPoint in the morning. It's a summary of what was in the drive, which were all like the source documents, which is now a slide summary of them. Strategic goals. Number one is on safety. We want to make sure IV is safe, healthy, and enjoyable for all residents, especially on weekend nights and days such as Deltopia. Remember, these are the old goals that we had approved a year ago. So we are going to update them now. Civic engagement creates a sense of ownership and responsibility for residents, meaningful and inclusive efforts that shape decision-making. That's the community connection. Next is quality of life. IB residents enjoy a sustainable and high quality of life in their housing, parking, transportation, and neighborhood beauty. And finally, representation. IB has a growing level of self-government, sufficient resources, and confident in the efficient use of existing. Then we're going to go quickly. This is already throughout our last board meetings, but our SMART goals are like the things we're going to do this year to move us forward towards our bigger goals. And then they're highlighted as done or in progress. So strategic goal 1, we got 2 of our SMART goals fully accomplished, and then 4 of them progress was made, but we're not done yet. Which is totally fine. The first one alone, Soltopia, that just consumed a lot of bandwidth. Next is strategic goal number 2, mislabeled the title. A lot of these got done, and the state of the district, we ended up doing the Ask Me Anything town hall instead of this in May. It just felt more timely of what we needed done. And then we're still making progress towards 25% bilingual. Strategic goal 3, again, this is another one where it had like one major issue, which was the parking compliance program launching. So that took a lot of the time. And then a lot of these are also outside of our control. So the county spending money on lighting and getting funding from the West, we can only ask, but we can't, that's not a decision we can make. And then our strategic goal 4, again, we made progress. We completed 2 of them, but the other ones, like the city study is what number 3 evolved into. So there was some evolution of some of these, and then the outcome dashboard, we're finalizing it. You'll see a version of it today, but lots of progress made. But definitely, we could not get all 31 goals done in 12 months, but a lot of them were moved forward on. And the yellow ones, some didn't have much progress and some had a lot of progress, and they're just in the last stretch to be finished. Excuse me. Excuse me, yeah. My bad.
No. So this, we're talking about 25, 26, so don't we have 6 more months of?
No.
Oh, we ended
July,
fiscal year.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
June.
sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
You're on the same fiscal year.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Everyone in California.
I'm
It's
bifurcated.
okay. It's okay. All right, and then some new SMART goals. So me and Sydney and Maya and Jenna, we were like at Kajay for 4 hours the other day working on these. It was actually a while ago now, but we sat down and we reviewed all the SMART goals that we had done. We reviewed the strategic plan, and we put together a list of new SMART goals. Usually we've done this differently, where we'll have like a general broad discussion in the retreat and then write them. But to expedite things and to make it, give you something to look at and grapple with, you can delete and add anything here. We made some draft suggestions. So I'll only mention the new ones. Host Soultopia 2 and keep our good safety levels that we had before. We edited the number 3, which is the non-police response at night. We just sharpened it to be more what it's like going to be, what it's looking like it's going to be. This is a new one, which is adding the 20 residents to the call center for interpersonal violence, doing the grant program for Friday night events, and turning the Ivy Community Center into a concert venue with infrastructure. Number 2, we didn't change much here. We actually only added one, which is to keep growing the CLE, Civic Leadership Initiative, which has been so successful. I'm sure those of you who came and saw the presentations, we've been killing it with people wanted it. I think there was a craving out there for it. Good. SMART goal. So just so you know, Maya usually handles a lot of the things in goal 1 and 2, and then goal 3 has been more under Jenna's department, and then 4 has been more of me and Sydney. Number 3 has some things like the mediation program that Sydney runs. So the new ones here are helping secure long-term funding for the WAVE. It's kind of a new one, it's half new, half old. We added in starting to explore the parking permit program after we've evaluated the parking compliance program at the end of fall, which there is a plan to do that. We added a goal we edited the mediation goal to be a broader scope of people, and then we made the car-free IV campaign more direct, which is working with IVCSD and local property owners. We launched it, which was the old goal, and now we want to expand it to have more people involved in that effort. And then strategic goal 4, we edited the second one to be more about the comprehensive fiscal analysis for cityhood. And on Carrie's suggestion from one of the previous meetings, we removed the community center, clinic building, and solar lot from number 3 right there on the leasing option. We'll keep them in the mix, but we're going to reduce the hard focus on them. So that's our proposed goals. And so we went way faster than 30 minutes on this one. And so we might be back on schedule soon. But yeah, want to hear your guys' thoughts on what should be goals, what shouldn't be goals. Do we want to keep this generally the same or make any edits?
I had a question
Yeah.
for the strategic goal 1. What does it mean to increase number of residents registered as active bystanders?
So that was actually one that we had last year too. You can take it as one of 2 things. One is that we wanted to do something with interpersonal violence, so getting an active bystander training up and going and getting more and more residents to register. You can also see it as getting more people to sign up, to pledge to be an active bystander as well. So maybe doing a quick demo and then having people pledge to do so. We've kind of been exploring both to see. So you're more than welcome to get more input on what you'd like to see from that. We can also expand it to be active bystanders, not only for interpersonal violence, but also be an active bystander at a party to make sure, how to use Narcan or, who to call for help and when, things like that.
I think that'd be really fantastic to roll that into a general event. You could also get, mental health first aid training, regular first aid training, CPR training, things like that. And I know that UCSB and the fire department already does that, so we could partner, hopefully. But that would be also wonderful for increasing safety, in addition to lighting and sidewalks.
Something that we've been exploring with the new Guardian program is having educational demos for the first hour that they're out on the street at night. So doing a 10 to 15 minute demo on a specific skill every Friday night. And then having people sign up where they can get a more in-depth training, like maybe once a quarter on one of those skills. But once they do that training, then they can sign up feeling like I pledge to, utilize this skill that I learned. But having something short and really bite-sized, try and get as many people to at least dip their toes in as possible, and then get their information to reach out with that quarterly opportunity.
Yeah, so I would be curious, like, just the interest in that from residents, because I think UCSB students already have to do like all sorts of trainings anyway, so I don't know, like, I'm just curious, like, how many student residents would be interested in that kind of thing, considering like the overlap.
This is more of an opt-in thing. It's not like
Yeah.
a mandated training. You have to sit through. This is like, I want to be a community leader.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do this.
I was asking more just from the perspective of like, is it something that we want to focus on? Like, is there enough traction in the community of interest in opting into that and doing that? Or like, are there other kinds of goals that are to emphasize?
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the second one. So these are all posed for our next. So, okay. We have to choose it. Okay, so one thing I feel like we need to drill down some of these goals a little bit, but one of so because create a system for board members. Yeah, what does that really mean?
That's gonna be done with.
Okay, that's gonna be done later. Okay, so one of the things, I'm not sure where to add this, but I would like to see some type of goal that we're focusing on an external audience that is non-Isla Vista. So an external audiences like the UCSB leadership, like local, other local districts, like it's Water, Goleta West, City of Goleta, City of Santa Barbara even, where we're being proactive and engaging and telling our Ivy story, and maybe it's the state of the district, but something condensed. So I'd like to see some type of outreach to those entities, because LAFCO, and that can be during public comment, it could be during meetings, but I actually like public comment or even scheduling something with them so that we are telling the Ivy story as we build toward perhaps cityhood, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that we need to add something
We
there.
can add that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
For
I really like that.
before the 4 to
Yeah, I just wanted to give a +1 to that, and I think that like it can be really easy that that work ends up taking a back seat to the other more internal facing work, just because there's always internal facing work to do. But I definitely see the state of Isla Vista or the state of the district as something that would be in service to that.
Yeah, and +2 then.
Yeah, and just to elaborate, when people saw the Soultopia article and people saw the parking article in Newstalk, I've gotten so much feedback and all the cool things that are happening in IV. And so in my world, people are saying that to me. And so I think us amplifying the waste ordinance and just other things that we're doing is a really good way to tell the story as we build support external as well as internal for years ahead.
Yeah, and I was gonna bring that up as well. Just I was curious, like, in terms of the civic engagement, I definitely am enthusiastic about like the board member outreach, just because I mean that's something that I brought up as well. But I did want to know more about like maybe the non-board centered outreach. Like I know there's CLE and the IVCN, but I was wondering like if we could maybe try to make it a little more robust, kind of in the ways that they had mentioned as well, like I don't know, because I guess it's like board members can't do all of the UCSB outreach, I guess, or like that area of things. So I was wondering.
Well, we do a lot of outreach all the time.
Yeah, no,
so
totally.
This was created so that the board can have a system because there isn't one. But Maya runs a huge, extensive, constant operation. So there's no goal around that because it's always happening. But if you guys wanted to find a goal around it, you can. But the goal we have is making it more inclusive by making it bilingual, our outreach. But we spend $200,000 a year on lots of different outreach stuff that's always happening.
Yeah, and I would also say you'll see this, when we go over the budget. I talked to this with the finance committee too, but that's also why I'm really pushing for a full-time outreach coordinator. Part-time is great, yes, but like full-time, if we want to be on the ground weekly all the time, then we need a person to do that, or canvassing more consistently, because so much time is spent on Instagram and on the other 5 communications channels. Our staff is really small. You know, we have seasonal outreach campaigns, right? So we push really hard during move-in, really hard during move-out. We had a specific thing for parking, and we can do, you know, consistent outreach for those seasonal campaigns. But if we want to be out there every single week telling people, oh, here's the events this week, here's something you should be mindful of, people can expect to see you in the same place, we're gonna need another person for that. So
Yeah,
I'll push that.
And I think like, I mean, more, I know you guys do a lot, but I guess the clarification on what is being done, because I don't think I'm fully aware of like the different things being done. So sometimes I'll have an idea and like, it might be something you're already doing. So I think it'd be good to maybe like get a little bit of a breakdown on like that stuff, that way we know like where there's areas to grow.
I think some of these slide decks in here, there's a lot of slides in there, but a lot of them break down the more specific stuff that like board staff does.
Yeah, and that's, you know, our annual report, went over that 2 weeks ago.
This guy.
Yeah, a lot is done. I mean, if you guys wanted more information on that, we're not gonna do that right now.
Oh,
We have time, but a lot of money is spent on this every year on community outreach by the district.
Let me elaborate. Are you saying that you feel like you would like to know more from Maya on kind of what she's pushing, what her team is pushing, so that you can help amplify that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because like, I mean, I've talked with some of the departments at UCSB about like trying to implement like these little mini like lectures or things like that about Isla Vista and like what's going on and governance and all of that. But it's like, I think that some departments are open more than others to like, you know, amplifying, like if there's a newsletter from IVCSD, like including it, like the ES department has a listserv, like I think that they would be open to just attaching that like into their weekly emails. So I guess it's like being a UCSB student, I think I have more access to like those kinds of avenues, I guess. So it's like, how can we work together if you already have materials, or if you already have like a flyer or a slide deck that breaks down IV, like how could we get that into like the ES department's listserv or the poli-sci department's listserv, or like those kinds of things. So just like that kind of.
Should that
Yeah,
be a
that
new
makes
goal?
You can make that a goal, is like
Yeah.
create more connections with academic departments at UCSB. We can make
Yeah.
that number 5 here.
I definitely think that can be an area, because we do reach out, especially the ES listserv. We have a decent relationship, I would say, with them, but there's definitely room for expansion with all the department heads, because they communicate with students, you know, much more than we can in certain aspects.
And I think that's where like it might be easier for like students on the board to help facilitate that, like if you have materials, and then like because it's like I can go meet with professors and department chairs very easily. I don't know, I feel like maybe there's less of a barrier there, so it could be like a good.
Would that be academic and clubs?
I-
Or is that club somewhere else? I just don't want to limit it, it's just academic.
I think like all of the above.
UCSB.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
that's where I was thinking like
Yeah.
developing, or if you already have like a specific, like a flyer or like a little booklet that's like all about IV, like if we have something really easy to pull and then just sending that and like showing all the clubs that, it would be like a really good.
We do have that. I'm also very curious, and this is something I don't know, and Kirsten, you might know this. Is there a meeting of like the department heads that we could like give announcements to, and like how frequent that might be? That would be amazing. I don't know if it
I think all the
exists.
departments are
Very
disparate islands
separated.
that
Okay.
barely
Yeah.
know of each
They're
other.
very separate.
Wait,
Okay,
so-
well,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would be an
yeah.
awesome
That's
opportunity
It's
to
a great
connect with all
idea.
of them.
I think
Yeah.
There are ways, though,
From-
there are ways to get out information to faculty and staff.
Mm.
There's a weekly faculty and staff, newsletter, I guess, that goes out, that I don't see why I couldn't put it in.
Yeah, who oversees, I'm curious, like, who oversees that, because that would be something good to get a better connection with.
Also, to
Yeah.
note, the list of UCSB department faculty directory is very outdated.
Oh, yeah.
There is like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
minimum 5 names on here that I'm like, wait, they've been
Yeah.
fired
Yeah.
or gone for years.
But there are things that, as part of this external outreach, like going and meeting with the academic senate, introducing yourself, talking, those kinds of things. So there are ways to penetrate the academic world, but it would have to be pretty systematic. So
Yeah.
department chairs, academic senate, campus leadership. that kind of thing.
So in terms of making a new goal, I had written on here kind of zooming back, that a lot of the stuff we had originally was good, but I wanted to expand to be more effective communication. Because I think what we see here is a big disconnect of, we put in like a heck of a lot of time and resources on communication, but there's still this disconnect, and we see, okay, they want more Instagram, and like more listservs and stuff, but I wonder if that's effective, because seeing something on Instagram is very different than hearing about it from your friend. We know that word of mouth is really popular, and also difference between having a bunch of events and getting people to events. So if we wanted to add another SMART goal, I'd prefer it to be a little bit broader than focus on a club or department, and just kind of look to see how effective our communication is. Because if word of mouth is more effective and cheaper, we could shift some focus there, especially if we can give Maya her additional staff person to be our Paul Revere going on their bicycle every morning. That might work out. And then they'd also have time to form relationships with academia, because we could get on every department listserv,
But that would just be at a certain point.
it would take like maybe a week or 2 weeks or more with meeting with all these different people to actually do that.
Yeah, I think the goal should more be, it's more a tax goal of getting more money from Aya.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is all pointing to.
Makes sense, because that's where most people get their information.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we could do classroom announcements, but we'd have to have someone
Oh,
go
it's-
do it.
It's all those of us who've done elections and campaigns, it's not easy to
time.
do.
Yeah.
You'll take your
Yeah.
whole life for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to give context to like something like classroom announcements, like when I had my 9 event leads, when they were talking about Soultopia, they were all going and doing classroom announcements. But there were 9 of them and they were students. So
Yeah.
I think like for something like an outreach coordinator too, we want someone who's either a student or like a recent graduate who is still really familiar with the faculty who's there, with different departments, with clubs, like someone who's that fresh knowledge too.
Yeah.
Because I have a really good awareness, but also it's been some time since I graduated now, right? And a lot of things change. And so we need consistent, new, fresh information.
And we could even have part of their job just being like, hey, go back to campus and hang out.
Right.
Keep being there.
I was gonna see like
yes.
tabling, like at the arbor.
Oh, for
Every
sure.
week,
Yeah.
every week,
Yeah.
you're
Every
there
week.
from the same time,
Yeah.
same place.
Yeah, because you're
Same
right,
days.
there is this big disconnect between what residents want and then us being like, but we give you so much already.
Yeah.
And almost having it be like a PIO, for the district, a one-stop person where anyone, they know that if they want to reach out to the CSD, it can be one person. Because I hear, oh, should it be Maya? Should it be Jonathan? Sydney, what's my job? What's your job? So just being like, no, this is the CSD. Reach out to one person.
is there not an email where you all go?
I mean, there is, but like, people ask, who should I email? They want someone's
Yeah.
name. They want
It's
someone they
likely
can
me.
keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
Maya needs to
Yeah.
oversee
Yeah,
this.
yeah, it's
Maya does
me.
coordinate the contact us responses that we get from our website, and
Yeah.
You can direct people to me
Okay.
also.
But even like, I want even as deep as the chancellor to know, oh yeah, I reach out to Maya. And apparently the chancellor wants to make a UCSB app. I don't know if that's going anywhere.
There's so many
So
UCSB
does
I know,
apps.
I know. I don't know if that's going anywhere, but if it should, we should
we're not
tack
doing
on to that, but wait for it to work first and then tack on. Yeah.
I have a number of things on goal number 3.
Yeah.
I think we're done with this discussion.
I think so.
First feedback is, I would like for us to change the first one to not just be focused on the wave, but just be focused on all of MTD's services that service Isla Vista. Because I think we know that they're approaching a fiscal cliff, and we could end up
Did you
seeing
know that?
cuts.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean,
How'd you know that?
They
They
came.
presented the
They
news.
told
Oh,
us.
dang,
Yeah.
I missed it.
It's also in the news.
That's in the news. On all transit agencies in California.
Really?
But them in specific, they've lost some
I know.
funding that they used to
Uh-huh.
oversee. And then the second one is, I would like to see us take this second goal and sort of break this out a little bit more, because I think that there's a lot in there. And my
The
suggestion would,
permit one?
yeah, so my suggestion would be to really make this into 3 different goals, which is, like procuring all of the equipment, like where as a part of this, because if we're starting to say, we want to take the first steps on current program, then that means we also need to get a bunch of like the LPR equipment and the vehicle and all that stuff.
That's like year or two away, if not more. The permit program has so much policy and red tape to go through, like talking to the coastal commission, talking to the county, there's a lot to do policy wise, like for free, way before anything like we buy anything for it. Because if they don't approve it, then we would have wasted our money.
Well, don't we want to do it regardless, just for compliance purposes?
Well, that's the thing to think about. Like, we don't know yet. We haven't decided if we think that LPR would be helpful. We have a proposal from Dixon to do LPR occupancy checks, like a couple more, let's see how we're doing with the percentage on the curb. But we can do those one-off. We don't have to like invest all the way into owning the car. And because the cameras alone are $50,000. And the car is like $50,000, like $100,000 minimum, not including like other things and installation of the equipment. So, and the LPR, all it will do for us, if we got it like right now, is help us track 72-hour violations, which is good, but it's like, that's a lot of money to spend on one violation.
Right.
When we're getting some pretty good community reports on 72-hour violations currently. So
are we able to write tickets on any?
We are writing those tickets. Jenna can check how many 72 hours, and Casey can check. One of you guys can check which one.
I see.
Maybe help describe the process of how that works.
Yeah, Casey, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so basically for 72 hours right now, a lot of it is reporting from community members, but there is like if you see a car covered in like a bunch of dust or like cobwebs, or if we've recognized it there a few times, we'll leave a note on it. So basically we digitally chalk it. So take a photo of the tire, of the location, and then we leave a big piece of paper on the front under the windshield that says like this car has been chalked, notice for 72 hours. This is the time when it's been chalked. You must move the car by this time, otherwise you're subject to citation and tow. And so then we first go through citation, and then we inform people who can tow the car, normally foot patrol, and then they go out and check, and then they deal with it after that.
I've seen our signs a bunch too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's on the west end where I am, but
That's
it's like
where a lot
the
of them
big,
are.
yeah.
So I think that the feedback, that's helpful to understand what the process is. I think that it still really is like, there's three things there. It's doing all the things we need to do to make our current program successful, evaluating the success of our current program, and then working with the county and the coastal commission. And I think that those two partners should be named because they have a significant role to play. And I would not use the phrase "take all steps necessary," because I think really we're evaluating the feasibility.
Cool.
And then the last thing is just, I think you've seen this. I think 4 and 5 are duplicative.
They are. There's supposed to be another one that I'll in the Word doc. It's not. But yeah, we'll fix that.
I find that this number 3 a little confusing. It's like there's a lot of stuff here, and
The 250 one, or this whole section.
the whole section,
Yeah.
1 through 10, it's very wordy.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if there's a way that we can either visually break it up of like our 3 priorities,
Oh, yeah, we
like
can
1,
break it
2,
up.
3 are 3 priorities, and then list
Yeah.
underneath them. It's kind of all over the place. It's hard to follow.
Yeah, it's a summary of like the Word doc, which is
Got it.
more.
Got it.
Yeah, this is just a slide summary of them. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Because in the Word doc, each one of these has its own like label, like is this internal, is this
Got it,
which
got it.
department is
Yeah.
responsible? So like they're kind of their own thing.
Got it.
So I really like number 6, the catalog of the past and upcoming infrastructure investments.
Yeah.
And maybe this does exist, but like this, I kind of was thinking of this when I saw like the other section in the slides upcoming that's like about like district accomplishments. Like I think that's very important because obviously everybody's first question is what Isla Vista does, and on the website there is a what we do section. But I think like in order to fully understand it, you still have to click through like tons of different sections. Like you get the expanding each program. And then within each program, there's a bunch of other programs and you still have to click through a ton of things.
Yeah.
And so maybe just like having like at the top of that drop down, just like a little like PDF of just like basically what is on the slides already. But like, yeah, so just expanding that catalog, I guess.
I hear you, and making the accomplishments list was nice. 'Cause you're
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, there's like
It's
strong
like, it's,
things on here.
Mhm.
Yeah, 100% agree with that point. If we can have Maya make the PowerPoints with your beautiful pictures that you do in the back, like clear a little bit. I don't know what that's called, but do that.
I wasn't gonna bother Maya last night to improve my slides.
Oh, no, for this is fine. No, this is fine. But like on the website, when we want to publish, this is what we do, because you're exactly right. So,
Oh, I was looking at the doc on the folder for the strategic goals and I wrote down that there was something about rate my landlord but then.
It was used as a potential outcome to track. It's like how the average scores on there, are they going up or down over time?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna ask about that, because I was like, I don't know, like what the usership of that app is, or if it would be like an accurate.
Yeah, and we had put
like-
that on before we learned about the userness, user
gotcha.
levels, but that was like, we're trying to think of like, what's something out there that exists that we can track that shows satisfaction with housing.
And I was gonna say, there was like a random idea that I had about like specifically the housing, because it's like, you guys talked about how much it came up in the survey, but it's like, there's really not much that IVCSD can do. And I was thinking like, it might be cool to do something specifically in the fall where we hosted like housing workshops and maybe brought like the mediators in, or like they have expertise, legal expertise of like offering to read through leases, or like even just breaking down the application itself and like what is actually required for it. Because I feel like specifically freshmen that are here have no clue how to navigate that, and that all is like October. Like you're looking for housing in October and trying to apply in like November. So that could be like a middle ground, since we can't actually change the housing itself.
Yeah, we've had like a security deposit workshop before, pretty low attendance, but it was recorded and it's on our website. But we are always open to doing more housing workshops to get the community more informed and educated and aware of our resources too.
I really like the virtual workshop. You recorded it and I forgot what it was for. But I like that because
just leaving it on the website.
Because who's gonna come in person to this,
Yeah, that was the community spaces one to walk people through the guidebook. And we do have a lot of views on that. People do like videos, and I agree. I think those are really helpful, especially for housing. You made a really good point though about freshmen specifically. And I feel like maybe that's something we can work with RAs on, because I know they have their meetings already. And a big thing we try to do is meet the community where they're at. So if we want to target freshmen, maybe getting into those meetings and bringing our housing mediators and having them talk during those meetings.
That reminds me that one thing that UCSB does, Viviana, she does this voter outreach. She gets people to register to vote.
We've all volunteered.
And that's such a great way to reach people. You're reaching parents, you're also reaching students. When we think about a captured audience, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up something on 4.
Yeah.
I don't really understand 4. 4, because there's a lot of things in 4. What?
It's a governance goal.
It's a governance. Okay. Because there's a lot of like outreach here, right?
Yes.
Just develop 4?
That's probably at request of me.
Like what?
This is probably at request of me, wanting to have greater outreach with.
We're talking about establishing strong relationships, hold discussions with, this is like an external facing outreach.
Well, those 2. And then the last 2 are more internal.
Well, no, 4.
That's internal. I mean, that's our
Public facing
internal
dashboard. Where are we on?
Yeah, we are. But like, that's an internal thing we have to do to publish externally. We had more internal goals here, like improving the efficiency of the Compass Collective. We just finished that one.
So this is a governance one.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is there's things in here that seem like they're outreach, and then it seems like 2 is develop and publish state of the district, creating a system for board members to build relationships. There just seems to be overlap between 2 and 4.
We can move things around, like, I think, yeah, the two you mentioned could probably be in 4 instead, but 2 is supposed to be outreach to the community and like the community connection aspect, and 4 is, yeah, governance, which is fragmented and not all about us only. We have to,
I guess we need to define governance, because when we talk about building strong relationships, to me, that is external outreach.
but we can't govern if we don't have those relationships.
We just break up into smaller goals, right?
We can't govern if we don't have those relationships. That's why it's
We
in governance.
rely on these groups to be able to, like our partnerships with them, to be able to move forward our goals.
Like Jenna's relationship with Public Works is, the only way we get them to come out here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I almost wonder if, maybe governance
Sorry,
isn't,
Vaughn.
maybe governance really isn't the word. This is just like holistic outcomes, or services in Isla Vista.
2 goals.
Well,
I think
and
it's just-
representation, like how do we represent the community?
How do we
represent it
affect the
to-
things that we don't control?
Yeah,
Okay, I guess I'm just having a hard understanding of what you mean by governance.
I think the reason Jonathan's thinking about it in terms of governance is because there isn't really governance happening. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. There's a lot of things that we would like to influence that we do not control.
Could you define governance for me?
Governance means like who's in charge.
and we're collectively in charge. And so,
There's a shared or a siloed governance.
like, if we were a city, maybe this goal would be to create less silos within the city departments and make us all work together as a city better, but since we're not, we have to deal with it in this way.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, this might not be a goal if we were a city, like to say.
Well, no, because cities, have,
Yeah, it'd be different.
it'd be different, yeah. So basically, this goal is for you all internally to make sure that you're developing the necessary relationships with external agencies to be able to affect the priorities of the district.
For the most part, yes. Like what it says is IB has a growing level of self-governance, sufficient resources to meet our needs, and confidence in the efficient use of existing resources. So that's not just ours either. Like that's why we've asked like IVCSD what is currently spent on Isla Vista from the campus. So that's why the county, we're trying to always get like how much of the rent from this building is good. So we are trying to coordinate all these different things that are happening in IB so that we can advance our the other 3 goals in a coordinated way.
I do get what you're saying about like maybe breaking up like the different, I guess, like discussions and like relationship building, because I think you guys work really hard, but there's some roadblocks. Like there's some, agencies or groups that are harder to collaborate with and work with than others. So if it's broken up, then it's easier to measure like how you're meeting that goal, I guess. Like if you break it up and you're doing really great in one area, we can say like this is going really well, and then we can kind of identify like these are the specific groups that we're having a lot more trouble building that relationship with.
Yeah.
Like it might just be easier in terms of like the transparency of whose relationships need more work than others, I guess.
Yeah, the first one is supposed to be everybody having a quarterly meeting together, like not us with them, but it's like getting these 4 groups that are super responsible. So we haven't been able to accomplish that. Like we haven't been able to organize the 4 of us to have a quarterly regular meeting, which might be important. It was a goal last year as well. But yeah, that would be good for IV's governance if the county, UCSB, IVCSD, and IVRP met once a quarter and talked about IV issues. So much could get done, but we haven't been able to establish that yet.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. And in the survey, I felt like I saw a lot of responses saying that they really liked the town hall and wanted more.
Yeah.
So I think
Maybe
like
we
a
could put
quarterly
that in.
meeting with like public comment for like residents also, like I think that would be awesome.
That's a great idea. So
Yeah.
that would be something for this one or number 2, either one. But yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think about like with the Sable issue, it was so
Yeah.
contentious, and then like Senator Mooney like kind of brought literally every state agency that had responsibility in it to a meeting and then had them answer everyone's questions. Like I kind of think of that when I read that of like you bring them all together and then it's like residents come to us about something that is the county's jurisdiction. So if we're all there and the county's there, then it's like the residents can say it and the county has to respond.
That's a good point.
Like
Yeah.
That would be out of my wildest dreams to have a town hall with us, Laura, Bill Brown, everyone. So like, let's most definitely do it. I want to,
Yeah, I like that idea. It's a good idea.
but
Yeah.
acknowledging that I want it so much is gonna be really hard. So like,
But you can also just have a town hall every quarter, invite them, and then be like, oh, they were invited, they didn't come.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah, just cause like for Monique to do that, one, that took hours of planning and Jordy lost much hair doing that. And also she has such big name recognition and sway. She can get people to do things like that. So I think in the beginning, honestly, that strategy of they ignored us is good because we don't have that kind of sway.
Yeah.
But out of my wildest
But
dreams.
that's also a very different scenario where there was like a potential natural disaster happening and
Yeah.
like,
But I think what Catherine said is really important because this is the tension at the heart of this goal, which is this goal is the context here is that we don't have the authority to convene all these people. We can
Yeah,
invite them, but they
exactly.
can tell us to go pound sand. And
Yeah,
they have
do.
routinely. And so, you know, the thing here is operating in an environment where we have little power. How do we figure out how to still move things forward?
Yeah.
That's how I see this.
But I
as
also think
trying to
this should remain a goal.
Yes.
And like, you don't have to achieve everything.
Yeah, I think it's,
You can.
I
You
want it,
can't.
yeah.
This is a nice thing to look at and be reminded of.
But it's
place
still
we're at.
so important to set. And even if no one comes, just showing that no one came is important. And look, if we can do Soultopia, we can do this. I said it's out of my wildest dreams, but like, it can happen.
Yeah, and I think that also it's just good to show like the effort that IVCSD is putting into those things because I feel like even the survey results, like maybe we could share those with the county or like make public comment of like, hey, we had a lot of things coming up that are really out of our jurisdiction. Bless you. We want to post something and we think that based on these results, it's really important for you to be there. And then it's like that's on record and if they don't come, then it's like we have that we were representing the community and trying, I guess.
Yeah, I like this. Okay, are we good on the SMART goals? We have more time to edit these too. Like you can email me edits and like word changes too, and we'll approve this at the June meeting or late in the August meeting.
Tax fund. I think that was it.
Tax facts. Okay, and really quick, we'll do a preview of our public dashboard. That's gonna be our intern Erica who worked on this with Sydney's supervision. But these are the three, you know, we did look at the three main goals, or not main, but like the non-governance goals. And it'll show like the programs and then outputs for each program. And then they'll show the progress on the outcomes. You know, these are two separate things. So, you know, how many walk-ups you get to the safety station, that's a widget kind of thing, right? Like you could have 1,000, you could have 10,000, but we really care are like arrests and citations going down. That'll be somewhere else in there. But we'll be able to at least display information about our programs and what they do and if they're being successful or not. And it gets the impetus for us to collect more data too. We collect all of this already, and we could be like, oh, wait, this one is missing. Like, let's go after that. So it kind of organizes things and shapes it.
I love this, and I love having, I mean, excellent use of interns. I love having editable widgets that, you know how like they're not analog clocks, but the old digital clocks I would actually shift down to make it look like that. So we can do how many trees, and we could even, if we wanted to be a little bit inflammatory, how many times we've invited so-and-so to this meeting.
Wait,
Just
where-
kidding. That's a joke.
This isn't up yet.
It's not up yet. These are just screenshots.
Will it be on the website?
Yeah.
But we could do a number of town halls hosted.
Yeah, this will be helpful in town halls. Just be like,
Yeah.
oh, look at this easy to see information.
And are you thinking of updating the data every month? Or-
Quarterly or so?
Yeah.
Could we automate that?
It's
It is automated.
It's automated. Erica spent a lot of time this year creating dashboards for every single program, and then that's linked this different spreadsheet, but then this already, so auto updated pretty much.
All right, tax facts. So I'll do a
So we're
bit.
going to have a break. We're just going to zoom in through.
Yeah.
Do we want?
We're 30
It's
minutes
a-
behind.
We can take a break if
Fine.
you'd like. I was thinking after facts we take a break.
Okay.
Yeah, because the next section after it is a little more intense.
Okay.
little more intense.
So I'm gonna present a little bit and then we're gonna switch to Jamie's presentation and then we'll switch back to this one and then we'll take a break and then we'll talk about the revenue budget. All right, so, I forgot the most important bullet point on this slide, which is that Measure R passed with 84% of the vote.
Yeah.
In June 5th, 2018,
And that's June.
not too long ago, yeah, June 8th, I just saw the Facebook memories for Measure R. So Measure R, that's how we're funded currently. The board of directors put it on the ballot January 2018. Currently raises 1.5 million. It's a flat 8% tax on the 5 utilities that we're allowed to have a tax on. And these purposes is what the ballot measure language said: parking, public safety, lighting and sidewalks, mediation services, municipal advisory council, community facilities, and events. We really relied on that and events part of Soltopia, but that's what the people voted for.
We gave the people a vote.
Some of our accomplishments: we passed Measure R, we secured the UCSB money, second round, 1.4 million for the district. We got the community center open. We were, we forget because COVID was so long ago, but we were a critical aspect. Other unincorporated communities did not have what we had here on COVID response because of IVCSD. We passed our first mobility plan, and then we got like maybe the first tranche of money ever out of Measure A, specific for IV. We got the awards for our mobility plan. We got the festival ordinance sanctioned for us to be able to have music during the ban on music. We had the trash ordinance passed, only health and safety vending machine in California. Our parking program launched in California.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then Soltopia. So
And-
lots of accomplishments, not even an exhaustive list.
Were you here when Planned Parenthood said they're gonna
Yeah.
keep restocking our Plan B, right?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
know.
Planned Parenthood
I
came through
cannot do
again.
that. Were you looking at
It's
me?
brand new information.
No, at Kirsten. Yeah, tell us.
Oh, we
You
said
have
it at
more.
finance committee. We said it at
Oh,
finance
yeah.
committee.
yeah.
I get confused.
It just happened. It just happened. We just got
That's hilarious. Yeah. You look
Okay,
so
And so we're gonna fly through like what CSD currently does. It's gonna be like 5 seconds a slide,
Okay.
okay? So operations, this is the part of the district that runs the district. So we put on, the meetings, we go after grants, we make sure that every, contracts, accounting, everything, Sydney's with a print, but that's a lot of her.
Yeah.
And then Jenna's gonna speed run through what Public Works is, because you guys all know this stuff, but we're just summarizing it in case the public is watching.
Yeah, so obviously Isla Vista Beautiful have a staff that cleans up trash, glass, and graffiti in the streets. That's the bulk of that program. Public art, we fund public art around town. If property owners want, they can apply for a grant to have some kind of art on their property, but otherwise we try our best to figure out other spaces that we can commission. And then infrastructure, we mostly keep an eye on issues and push for them to get fixed, but we also fund lighting improvements, and we have a tree program where we give away free trees. And then move in, move out, we do just a ton. Our focus is to reduce waste and just make the community appear a lot cleaner and neater during this time. Oh, there's a tree distribution program. Yeah, so we give out free trees to property owners who are interested because we have a really low tree coverage here in IV. And then, of course, we have our parking compliance program. It's part education, part enforcement, and a lot. And then parking alternatives, well, that's a little bit of part of our compliance program is trying to support and educate about public transportation, like the Wave and bus stops, etc.
And Maya's gonna speed run through our current programs and engagement.
We have the space right now, the room, and then the center across the way available for free and for rent. Our Survivor Resource Hub is a digital hub online, a one-stop shop for all resources. And then this year we launched doing in-person events as well, ranging from education workshops, coping skills, and retreats. Community gardens, we have many community gardens around Isla Vista, and the ones we oversee are both at the Methodist Church and also here at the community center. Community engagement, what we try to do to make sure everyone knows what's going on.
And the 400K views was in March. So I haven't updated the slide since we did the LAFCO report, but that's what our normal time, non-social time views are. So, go ahead.
Our health and safety vending machine newly stocked with Plan B again, and other different safety measures like safe needles, testing strips of different drugs and drinks, and also birth control as well. Our civic leadership initiative has 3 pathways, a volunteer program for 10 hours a quarter. We have our course, the intersection of local government and community advocacy. And then we have our independent projects that we just launched this year where people get to take those skills and tackle a problem on their own in Isla Vista. Isla Vista Community Network, where we all come together and talk about the state of Isla Vista, what everyone's doing, and how we can all support each other.
And our tenant mediation and legal advice program, newly revamped and doing really well. Safety. We have our oldest program, Safety Stations, still going Friday and Saturday nights. It's our nighttime presence on Friday. That's what we currently do for nighttime safety. IVCSD quarterly meeting where we bring all the decision makers and community groups together to make safety decisions. We don't make them, but we can hold a forum where we talk about it. Then cliff safety, there's a lot happening in terms of outreach and cliff fall memorials being worked on to create more awareness. Yeah, this is what the current tax is being spent on. So that's why we included these slides in this part, just so that there's a context of like all the money that's being raised now is going to all of these things. This is the breakdown by department. So it is a pretty even split between the different areas. Parking is separated from public works because of the way accounting works for parking specifically, but it's pretty much a third between operations, public works, and community programs and engagement. Safety is smaller, and it used to be way bigger because we used to have that interpersonal violence investigator contract, and now we're pivoting potentially cheaper ways of doing just as good of a work on that area. And housing is the smallest because we have the least authority there, and we're like growing still that way. This is just the split of our current expenses by salaries and services. So we're pretty flexible within our current tax in terms of like services and supplies can be ongoing, but salaries are like people, and it's different to cut like an ongoing contract versus an ongoing person. So most districts are 85% salaries and benefits, we're 60%. That's relief on it. And then this is our revenue. So it's 80% tax, 20% other revenue. Colors came back, not great. So this is the breakdown of the current 1.5 million between the different utilities. So it's mainly electricity, water, and trash is where most of the money comes from, 80% of it. This is the growth of the tax over the years. So we started off at 770K and we're now at double, essentially. And you can see the year stalled out where we got kind of worried. 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, but it's back on a good march.
What's the explanation for that?
It was the price of natural gas plummeted internationally. Like it went from the highest it ever was to the lowest it ever was. So nothing we could change there. This is hard to see. You can look at it on your own time, but it's like the different growth rates of these utilities. Oh, we have this information, but hard to look at. Here's what you actually want to see as decision makers, the average growth rate. So electricity, I think people just know this naturally because of how we pay our own bills. That goes up the most. Our average has been 10% total for all growth of taxes. And that includes the earlier years. It's like more than 8% since COVID. But we're looking at the whole thing.
Jonathan, are we able to get differences for growth based off of usage and then rate increases?
No.
Okay.
And then this is the split between commercial and residential. Thanks to Spencer, had all
Hey,
this
thanks.
from 2017. The ratios are
Yeah, so this is projected.
projected, yeah. But with for the current tax, for the existing 1.6 or 1.5. But electricity is where a lot of the commercial tax comes from. All the other utilities, they're really small, the commercial aspects, and that makes sense. Like there's very little commercial in Elvis compared to residential. And then the current mix of utility to other revenue, again, it's just showing that it's mainly been, this is a projection, but like, we're not projecting out in our 5-year projections a lot of growth in other revenue. You know, parking tickets, hope to have that go down. We don't want to have growth in parking tickets because we want compliance and we want that to stabilize. Facility rentals are never going to be that much because we want them to be used. So we want to cover the cleanliness, but that's it. And our other revenues, the IVCSD contribution, which we have locked in already, and that's not changing. So those are like the 3 other revenue sources. So that's why other revenues flat and tax is the only growth area for revenue as we know it. And grants we can do, but like usually we're not the ones getting them, but the county will get the Mega grant to build sidewalks because we're not in charge of the sidewalks. We can just fill out the application and design the idea. This is a great chart to look at because we've looked at this one and then had a worse story in the past, but currently based on keeping our expenses the same, like keeping our existing services, our existing staff, our existing way of operating, and including growth for salaries and COLA and natural growth of expenses compared against our revenue projections, we will barely not have a deficit, but we won't have a deficit. This is good. And this is it looking in a nicer way. Wow, so much easier to understand this one. But this year we have a deficit, but we knew that going into the year. And we've done restructurings and stuff to change that. And we do have surpluses projected, but they're small surpluses and they're very far out in the future, the bigger ones. And these are surpluses post raises and COLAs and stuff like that. So like fixed costs, we've assumed those happen, but still like $9,000 extra dollars, $9,000 extra dollars is not going to do that much in terms of a new service and infrastructure. 17,000 also couldn't do too much. 28,000 is still pretty limited. And it's not until you get to the 2030s where you even get like something, even like a staff person's salary, you wouldn't have that extra until like 2032. So that's the summary of Measure R. Stable. We're doing all right with keeping the current lights on, so people can rely on what we're currently doing. We want to do some new stuff that people want. We need revenue for that. Most of our revenue comes from the residential, but that we expect, and most of the utilities are water, electricity, and trash. That's what generate most of the tax revenue. Any questions?
I have a comment?
Yeah.
So this is going back to our strategic goals, but I think we should add something in there about outreach to the business community.
Oh, yes. Great idea.
Yeah.
Love it. That can be in strategic goal too.
Okay.
Yes, love it. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes.
Just want to make a comment. If you can go to this slide of the average growth rate of each utility.
Once I'm hitting
that's
Jamie's.
That's okay. You can bring hers up. I was going to say our revenue model is highly dependent on climate change continuing to do its thing.
That's
and I think that that's something that we should talk about in terms of how we design a future revenue. Because electricity's growth rate is completely driven by wildfire hardening costs, which are caused by climate change. In the past, when we've seen higher water rates because of the drought, connection to climate change.
right.
I just think that it's something to be thinking about as we move forward.
Totally.
Coffee refill.
That's
Is this our
important.
break?
No. It's my 10-second switch.
He drinks black coffee, so it doesn't count as a break.
Okay.
Yeah, +1 on that, Spencer, definitely. We need to decouple our financial security from climate change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer for that is very boring one, which is city has more tax options.
That's not boring, that's so exciting.
I say boring because it's like the
Yeah.
answer to everything. All right, Jamie, turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm working with not much of a voice today, so I hope
Oh,
that you
no.
all can hear me. Okay, so this is going to be this presentation will talk about what is being considered for the new UUT. I'm not gonna touch the existing UUT that's already in place. So what is being considered today is an additional UUT, utility users tax, on top of the 8% that is currently already applied. So we'll be talking about that, how to structure that, so different rates by utility type or customer class. And then finally, the possible GAN limit, which is your appropriations limit, which should be submitted in the same election. Slide. Okay, so first question is, can we actually impose an additional UUT on top of the existing 8%? Yes, we can. That's explicitly laid out in Government Code Section 61250. It contemplates taxes being imposed at a later date for additional services after the district is formed, and it gives the district the authority to impose those specifically a utility user tax on the utilities of water, gas, electricity, and sewage. And that, fun fact, is the only statute that authorizes a special district to implement a UUT within California. So what's required when we implement a new UUT is it has to be consistent and comply with Proposition 218. That is the California Constitution, Article 13C, Section 2D, which requires that all new taxes are approved by a 2/3 vote of the electorate. And when we're talking about 2/3 vote, we're talking about actual voter turnout. We're not talking about just registered voters. So that's an important distinction. So how do we do that? First, the board of directors needs to adopt a resolution of intention, placing the ballot measure on the ballot. And you'll determine the tax rates, the purpose of the tax, and the duration of the tax. And you'll present that to the county elections official. They'll put it on the ballot, and then the electorate will have all of that information to look at, and they'll vote yes or no on that measure. So rate design options, they can vary by utility. When the district was first formed, we did a straight 8% tax across the board on all utilities, but currently and separately, so you don't have to implement a straight tax across the board. And you can differ the rates between residential and commercial customers as well. The nuance with the customer rates, we need to support that by a rational basis or a legitimate governmental interest. The distinctions cannot be arbitrary. They have to have a legal basis or some kind of governmental interest of the district in order to support any kind of distinction. Yes.
So practically, does this mean that we have to list things like we did in the last one?
We do findings, yeah.
Yeah, so practically what will happen is in the resolution, we'll distinguish why, or we'll put reasons why we're distinguishing between users if that's what the board wants to do. And that'll be like this.
Oh, here it is.
So what is a legitimate governmental objective or legitimate interest? Administrative convenience or practical tax administration, if it's just like, you know, inherently burdensome to implement a tax on certain class of users, like the class is too small or something like that. Differences in consumption patterns or metering arrangements. A common one is taxing like multi-family apartments differently than a single family, just because the usage is different. Differences in the amount of benefits that ratepayers are expected to receive. So if you're talking about in the context of, you know, street improvements or redevelopment or something like that, if one area of your jurisdiction or one sector of the tax bracket is going to benefit more than another part, That can be a distinguishing factor, or advancing any legitimate economic policy goals that the district has. So what we can't do is basically subsidize users, which would be like giving preferential treatment to one class at the expense of another. It needs to be imposed fairly and rationally due to equal protection principles. But any legitimate governmental reason that we can think of that has a rational basis is usually upheld and relied on by courts when they look at these kinds of things, if it were to get challenged. So what's required to be included in the ballot language is really, it's just about making sure that we provide enough information to the public that they actually understand what they're voting on. They must understand how the tax works and any distinguishing between rates or tax brackets. We have to clearly disclose the purpose of the tax, which utilities are being taxed, the rates in the structure, and then any differences in users that are being taxed. So overall, the goal with the ballot measure for the district's purposes would be to provide information. What we cannot do is advocate for the tax. So all of our materials, we can't say like, vote yes on measure so-and-so, you know, it just needs to be public facing information that we can provide to the voters. Funding services. So what are we actually allowed to fund with the UUT? So the purpose of the special tax needs to be consistent with the IVCSD's powers. So realistically, anything that's listed in section 61250 is fair game as long as we are describing the special tax as having some related kind of purpose to that. Jonathan and I have talked about describing the tax and the powers that would be associated with it as broad as possible. So that way we could use the money for different things and not be kind of pigeonholed into one specific program or policy or things like that. And it also, when we are spending it, it must be consistent with the voter approved uses. So we can't, you know, get the tax approved and then all of a sudden say, you know what, we're just going to completely change directions. We're not going to implement these programs, or we're not going to do this anymore. The spending needs to be consistent with the purpose of the tax. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, does anyone have any questions about the UUT? That's just general overview to frame your conversation with Jonathan. Okay, so the appropriations limit or the GAN limit, this is separate. This is required by a different constitutional section. It's Article 13B, and it basically imposes a cap on the amount of spending that you can do per year on the proceeds of your taxes. So it's basically meant to be like a limit on tax spending, with the theory that if you don't hit that, you're supposed to remit the taxes back to the ratepayers. What you have to do though is you have to adopt that ceiling. This should have happened, honestly, when the district was formed. It wasn't, so we can just do it now. But what it is it's a projection essentially on what the proceeds of the taxes are going to be and what the district thinks that it will spend. And then that's the cap. And then it gets calculated every year, like based on a COLA. So you can increase the appropriations limit year to year based on a cost of living adjustment, and then it can be adjusted via resolution of the voters every 4 years, excuse me. So basically, it doesn't have anything to do with how much can be taxed or what can be taxed. It just talks about how much can you spend after you've taxed.
Just a question on that. Am I correct that as an alternative to remitting proceeds above the limit to the taxpayers, that the district could also allocate those funds to capital projects?
Yes, that's correct. But in theory, you would never reach your ceiling.
Yeah.
You would always, the way that you would typically do it is you would account a little bit extra than what you are anticipating your proceeds to be, so you would never have to do that. But yeah, you could allocate it to future capital improvement projects.
I like that idea because I had to process too many middle-class tax refunds for this.
And do we have to do this GAN limit?
Yes, yes, it is a requirement in the Constitution that all special districts, all cities, counties, special districts, anyone that's implementing a tax needs to set an appropriations limit.
And so we're just delinquent in doing it. We should have done it already.
We weren't in control of our formation. Right,
So-
we didn't get to put ourselves on the ballot and form ourselves, so there was a lot of things that could have been done better in 2016.
But we
Yeah,
could
in
have,
theory, it
we could
should
have
have
done
been
it any year
set-
between now and 2016. We just didn't.
Correct, yeah. And there's no, like, I'll say there's no penalty or anything like that, but it's just one thing where technically, if someone were to say you don't have a GAN limit, your appropriations limit is 0. So it's really important that we set that, just so that way we make sure that we have, you know, all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, especially when we're implementing a new tax.
Is this gonna be confusing to the voters?
It shouldn't be, because it will be 2 separate ballot measures. So one ballot measure will be the UUT, the second ballot measure will be completely separate, and that'll be the GAN limit. And the voter requirement or the approval requirements are different as well. So the GAN limit will only require a majority vote. The UUT will require a 2/3 vote.
What happens if one passes and the other doesn't? Like, what if the,
Yeah.
the tax
Highly
passes,
unlikely.
again doesn't?
But
Well-
be real careful.
I mean, that's a good question.
Has that ever happened?
I don't-
I couldn't tell you that. Yeah, I mean, the GAN limit, most cities and counties don't even worry about it because it's been implemented since the 80s. Like, it's not on the forefront of their mind.
But if the voters get to vote.
But if the voters get to vote on it, that would be an interesting one.
I don't think.
What's the threshold for passage?
50%. Well, 50 plus
Don't
1.
worry.
Yeah.
Is it possible to just bundle it into the tax?
No,
No.
it needs to be separate. Yeah.
And GAN limits necessarily must be approved by the voters.
Yes.
We're overdue.
Yes.
Even
Too
at
bad.
the
I had a
worst
couple just
performance of a tax in IV was 62%, and that was for natural tax.
Yeah.
So that's measure F, pre-measure R.
Well,
Okay.
cool.
So going forward, the key takeaways from this presentation and what you are all going to be thinking about is confirming your desired rate and structure. So uniform tax rate versus differentiated, and then articulating legitimate reasons for why you would want to differentiate that, because that is what I will include in drafting the resolution of intention. Defining the purposes of the tax and avoiding purposes. Oh, this is something that I haven't talked about yet. Oh, yes, I did briefly. Avoiding purposes outside of IVCSD authority. So everything that we are proposing should be consistent with our authority that's in the statute.
But we can do something like a power we want to activate.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah. And then deciding, as long as it's not the ones that are excluded
Yes.
in the, yeah. And then deciding whether to include a GAN limit measure, and then ultimately how much is being proposed, and that Jonathan has numbers for that. And then, so next steps for this would be me drafting the resolution of intention, which is already in the works. Drafting the measure language, the fiscal modeling, and then the ballot materials review. The ballot materials review, once we submit everything to the county, county council's the one that drafts the impartial analysis. So there wouldn't be much to do once we submit everything, but yeah. And that's it. Are there any other
But you
questions?
said decide whether to include a GAN limit measure, but you're telling us we need.
I am recommending to include one, yes. But I mean, of course, the decision's always yours.
Yeah, it
But we
is a
should.
board decision.
Wait, what happens if we don't do it?
I guess we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Let's not try.
Yeah. Because this
We're
situation
recommending don't
is
do that.
so unusual
Yeah.
that I couldn't even tell you.
Here, I have a more question, I don't know if this is probably for you, or I don't know if you would know the answer, but is there a way to influence the order of the measures?
I think how we turn them in might
Okay.
influence it. Yeah,
Good to know.
I'll ask, I'll try to check.
And if we didn't do the GAN limit now, we could do it next,
Special election, you could do a special election or next election.
which would be more expensive.
It's not that expensive, a special election. It's because I think there'll be mail ballots only now. That's how special elections work. And it would be tens of thousands of dollars, but not like 100,000.
But it'd be more cost effective to roll it into one.
Yeah, even doing two on the same ballot cuts down the price of both because
Yeah,
now it's
yeah.
like, well, I mean, it's still more because it's two, but
Sure.
it's a little less because each one is a little less.
Sure.
Maybe it's irrational, but I feel very queasy about having this both on the same ballot.
Having the tax and the GAN limit on the
Yeah.
same ballot?
It just seems like it's fodder for somebody to really come after us that, I don't know.
Yeah.
The reason that I don't share the same level of worry is that when Measure E passed with 82% and then Measure F lost, it still had 62%.
And had a no campaign on it, like heavy, and we said like the yes campaign was not as strong as the Measure R yes campaign in terms of the message. Actually, the Measure F campaign had way more money and resources, but our message and we had the track record of the district for Measure R. Measure F was like people were voting on a tax for something that didn't exist yet versus we existed for Measure R. So
yeah, I think the voters will understand this is just a thing that we have to do to comply with the California Constitution. I mean, it's pretty pro forma. It doesn't really affect them. It's not increasing or decreasing spending in any way.
Measure O passed 75% in the special election. So IV voters have had a history of being pro their local government.
I'll sleep on it, but I think it'll be okay.
Okay.
All right, shall we keep going?
Yeah, we can put a pin in it.
The morning is
Remember.
getting away from us.
Yes.
As we knew it would.
Yeah.
As we knew it would.
All right, so
yes.
one quick last set of facts before we give you a quick break.
I don't do a break just for me.
Well, what if I want to remember?
Well, I just don't want to be the only one.
And Sydney's
saying-
ordering, yeah,
Okay.
Sydney's
Here's Sydney.
ordering lunch, and lunch will come around 12, and there'll be lots of. The last bit of the retreat will be break-ish. We'll
Yeah.
have lunch and we'll fill out the community relations worksheet.
Yeah.
Okay, so financial analysis of future taxes. So we cannot look at every possible scenario of the variations of like residential, commercial, and the different utilities. We can do that later, but this is just to give you an idea of what different tax rates would raise. And we're looking at 2%, 4%, 6%, and 8%, just as like flat numbers. 2% is a quarter increase, 8% is doubling, and then 4 and 6, 4 is a doubling of 2, and 6 is somewhere in between. So this is like what you would raise from the different rates. So the 8% would double, right? 1.6 million would come in, and a quarter of it would be 400,000. So and again, it could be everywhere in between. These numbers are just for illustration purposes. You can do a 5%, you can do a 3%, you can do 7%, but we're doing these even numbers. And then this is the growth rate of the current tax applied to the new tax, and just seeing where it would land in the future. So yeah, you have anywhere between 1.6 million to 400,000 that could be raised. And that's it. That was quick tax facts about the future. Now we can take our 5-minute break.
Wait, I have a question.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yes.
So do we have to have okay, can we do different rates for different utilities?
Yeah, I just didn't do that in this modeling. I do have modeling of looking at that, but I think this is just to give you an idea of the range of potential. I think everything is bound within the 1.6 to 400,000. Or I should say the other way, like the 0.4 to 1.6 is the main boundary. You could go less and you can go more for sure. And then within these two bounds, as you do the variable rates, it'll move up and down between them.
What'll be it?
Yes,
Okay, so break time, can we do 5 minutes and come back at 11:10? That's
Mhm,
cool.
yeah. break.
Not going anywhere.
All right, it's going on.
I'm gonna microwave it.
That's okay. That is okay. Are we ready to rumble to our revenue measure workshop?
Yeah.
All
I was
right.
gonna call this one build a measure, like build a bear, but.
Boss builder,
maybe-
we can do it.
Maybe the pop culture references would be too much.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I love Boss Builder.
Put a little
So
Bob the Builder next to it.
revenue measure. Why would we even do a revenue measure? Like we said earlier, it's for new services and infrastructure that we don't have money for right now. And so this is a list of potential new services and infrastructure, not a complete list. This is the list that you saw in the budget survey, and it's, you know, very much derived from what we have heard from different conversations, these plans that we have already that need funding, things that we have been trying to do that again need funding. So some of these are ongoing costs, some of these are like one-timers. But this is a non-exhaustive list. So part of what we can do today is add ideas to this list or remove things from this list. So, and then we have these scenarios for scale. They're illustrative only. It's like to give you an idea of what could be done. These are not budgets for the future board. These are not the actual project list and plan. These are not even the actual costs for things, even though we've done a lot of research to get pretty good ideas for costs of things. We can never know until we actually start doing requests for proposals and quote requests and everything. So just know that all of these are illustrative to give you an idea. So these are like the four, oh, this did not come out as good on here as it was on the small screen, but these are different ideas of like the 4 levels of potential tax. So you have 500K to 1.5 million, and you have the different, you know, items within these funded. And some of these are like, it has like a slider, you know, you can always do more lighting or always do more street lights versus the unarmed response, which is like the one way to deploy it is the one budget for it, and we don't have like a super big version of it. Same with the city's application, that's like one cost. It's not gonna vary between having more money. You can't really put much more money into that. So, so here's scenario 1. These are like potential accomplishments 8 years later, because we're 8 years away from Measure R, pretty much to the date at this point. So, you know, 8 years from today, here's potential things that could be seen as like accomplishments in 2033 or 2032, 2034. Sorry, bad math. So within scenario 1, which is the 500K, and these are the numbers or the names we gave the community in the budget survey: modest, meaningful, substantial, and transformative. So with a modest increase in change, we could do the unarmed response on the street. That's like a $250,000 cost. We could do a one-time expense of some residential parking permit signs. So maybe we can't cover the whole town, but we can have some signs around town. Those are very expensive. You gotta pour cement, do engineering, etc. We would have money for lighting. That, like, the idea for the lighting and the sidewalks is that we would like take a loan out at the beginning and then pay it off over time so that we get a big lump of money at the beginning to do the projects, and then try to match funding. Like, we wouldn't go out of the loan. So the lower, yes.
Sorry, you said these are really expensive to install. How expensive are they to replace when people inevitably want to steal the sign?
Expensive. Yeah.
Cool.
But not like going broke expensive, but definitely we don't want it to happen expensive.
Everyone's gonna do it.
Well, I mean, it's not that. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. And then, yeah, lighting. Let's say we did matching fund, we can get maybe 40 lights, and maybe we can have like a lot of the bus stops having more amenities. We can cover Soltopia, and we can put money in for cityhood. So that's like the lowest level. We can do this public safety thing, and then some infrastructure and Soltopia and the cityhood. Scenario 2, this is the $1 million. We could do the Friday and Saturday night security. We can do the Friday night events every Friday, 30 Fridays a year for 8 years. We could get ongoing funding to support the wave 5 days a week. We could have the full version of the permit signs and, replacement fund maybe. We can have more lights. We can have every bus stop have an investment of infusion for shelter and lighting and seating. And then we could, now this one, what's added from the last one to this one is we can have sidewalk money and matching funds for that, and potentially, let's say 2 miles-ish of sidewalk based on, this is like all numbers. We're not gonna be building them, but this is based on the Measure A sidewalk money to how much that's building to what we can maybe build with what we have, all projections. We'd be able to do the library. We'd be able to take over the library services for Isla Vista, get matching funds from the state/county and put in our own investment and equipment. Transform the community center into music and arts venue, do Soultopia and do cityhood applications. So that's scenario 2. There's a lot that can be done. The jump from 1 to 2 is big because it's double. And it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you're like, oh, 2, 4, 6%. That's because 2 is double. 4 is double of 2 versus 4 is not, or 6 is not double of 4. That's why it's like it doesn't grow in a linear scale. Scenario 3 is similar to scenario 2. It's just like more money towards things. So like more sidewalks, more lights, and like maybe a little more library funding. But that's where like at this point, like in the 3 and 4 scenarios, like as we go past $1 million, it becomes hard to spend money that hasn't actually come in yet and without knowing the exact cost. But you could always put in more investment into lighting and sidewalks, which are like our big infrastructure needs.
So is the greatest jump in diminishing returns from 1 to 2?
Yes.
Okay.
From 500K to 1 million. And then this is 1.25 million, and then 1.5 million, it's like the big one, right? Like you can do all the lights, you can probably finish all the lighting we ever need to have built. You can do 3 miles of sidewalks, which gets us closer to complete network, like maybe completes it. You can have a more enhanced library, bigger events on Friday and Saturday nights. But it's still similar. 2, 3, and 4 are similar. It's just like then it's like amount. But the baselines that you can get between 2, 3, and 4 are the Friday and Saturday night unarmed response, the Friday night loop events, the wave, ongoing funding. There will be lighting money for infrastructure improvements at all 3. It's just like how much and to which, like, how much flexibility we have. The library and that matching funds that comes with it, 200K extra into the district budget. That's in all 3 scenarios. Soultopia could be in all of them. The money for the community center is a one-time, upgrade, and then the cityhood money is a one-time expense as well. So I know it's hard, like these are very like things in the air, but our general discussion now, this was a short presentation, is do we support moving forward with the revenue measure? If yes, what services do we want to focus on? And that's like at the general level, right? These are like examples of programs under service areas that could be done, but the way we did, you saw Measure R, it was public safety, parking, community events, broad categories. So yeah, which services, what top line number to aim for, so we don't have to like fidget around 800K, 1.1 today, or variable rates on this, like let's do the tweaking today. Like you can give your preferences on variable rates, but we're not gonna like tweak the rates real time to adjust it. Just give us the top line number, like the scenario you want to aim for, and we will work as your staff, and you can delegate some of the board as well to put something together that meets your policy goals, that meets the services you want funded, that gets the funding level we want, that meets the policy goals with the variable rates. And then we'll put that for you on June 23rd. So open discussion now on designing a measure and what that might look like and what you guys want to use with it. So this is the fun part.
First, I'll start off saying yes for me for the first one, and then open discussion.
Do we all agree?
And then see what y'all think about that.
Yeah, you just can't do straw polls. I think those are
Oh,
not
sorry.
allowed, but you
That
can
is not a
verbally
straw
voice
poll.
what
That is
what you want.
I like that one. Personal opinion.
Yeah, I support, I say yes to question 1.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what kind of things because I know we can't do a straw poll, so I'm gonna move us along for legal matters. What kind of things for number two? What we would
Can I
want
ask
to
a question, please?
Yes, yes.
So we went through the various scenarios,
Mhm.
right? And so what you're saying is that, I guess in my mind, it would be helpful to know numbers for scenarios, like what we're looking at.
These are some numbers.
oh,
These
did
are
I not
8-year
see that?
totals. These are 8-year totals of what you could have. There's also a sheet attached
Oh, I see, there it is.
that has
yeah.
like individual fiscal year estimates for
Yeah.
things.
So we would then put these numbers into the various scenarios to get a sense.
Yeah,
And then we would know in terms of, or you're gonna say what you recommend in terms of a tax rate, to put on a tax rate corresponding to the different kind of categories that we give you.
yeah. What we're gonna try to do is you're gonna give us the services you want
Yeah.
met, and you don't have to say exactly like unarmed late night response. You can just say public safety.
Mhm.
So you give us the service areas, and then you give us the scale, like 1,500,000, like the top line number you want to have. The exact budget, like this breakdown, is illustrative only. So this is not, we're not gonna submit this as part of the resolution. This is just for you to know like what's possible at the different levels. Yeah, so what we'll come back with you is a list of service areas and a top line number, and then the different rates that meet that top line number.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
Okay, wait, so I think the thing we should be 100% committed to is public works and sustainability, and I don't,
You want to wrap safety?
not
No,
necessarily.
Okay, okay, sorry,
Because
sorry,
when
sorry.
I'm thinking about this, like everyone I've been talking to about the like parking problem, which obviously people are pissed off about, is like they find it really aggravating that like we're working on parking, but we're not combining the sidewalks with that. And I've talked to so many people about the sidewalks, and
What do
that
you
is
mean
like a
by-
huge thing.
We're not combining the
Like
sidewalks.
because okay, especially with the like 6646 DP housing where there's like you have the problem with
The
the
apron,
third
yeah.
car blocking the sidewalk, and they're like, well, it's also stupid because the sidewalk's not even walkable.
So people are upset that we're not enforcing in the sidewalks enough, or
not
that we're not
providing
building
No,
out
we're
sidewalks?
enforcing in the sidewalks. Sidewalks are not up to standard. Like those sidewalks are not
Oh,
usable.
okay, okay.
You know, does that make sense?
So like they're not usable
Yeah.
anyways, why are we enforcing that?
Exactly. So that's like, I think, and obviously lighting, because like literally one of the reasons I joined the board is because I got hit by a car because there was bad lighting in my neighborhood or like on my street. And like, you can't see down half the streets at night. And so that's like, but I think those are top priorities because like safety is like, especially with the crazy part of people in this town, like that is number one for me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask with that, I mean, didn't the county come and say how they were gonna like widen all the sidewalks and like?
Just the DP one. So the DP
Okay.
sidewalk will be.
Cause there was
12
like
feet.
that whole presentation and they're like, we're gonna do these bulb outs and
Yeah.
we're gonna fill in all these
Just on
sidewalks.
DP.
And like, when is that gonna?
Years.
Well,
Exactly.
but the ATP plan does have bulb outs in different intersections.
Yeah.
And we also have sidewalks that are being funded by Measure A that are also in the pipeline. So there are new sidewalks
Yeah.
in the pipeline.
Cause I was wondering, I mean, even with lighting, like, I think it's kind of frustrating to have IVCSD putting money into that when realistically
Yeah.
there is money
Yeah.
that should be allocated at the county. And I just feel like using a new tax to try to fill in services that frankly should be done by the county just feels wasteful. It's like we should be doing the things that the county doesn't have responsibility for.
So that's not how lighting works in
Okay.
California. Lighting is not a general government service. It's for neighborhoods. So
Yeah.
the way lighting is funded is through a benefit assessment on properties. It's not like no city, like LA right now, for example, is doing a huge change in their benefit assessments for street lighting because not all neighborhoods get street lighting. That's not like a basic government service. It is an enhancement you pay for.
So we
So
would
then-
be in charge of
so
that.
So what we
what's-
have now is the basic level of service. If we want something enhanced,
Yeah,
we're not even getting the basics.
But-
I think
No,
that's the
we do-
point.
We are
But
getting the
sidewalks are.
There's
so
But
we
to
can
your
like-
point about paying for sidewalks, the county should.
But-
Well, there's
Spent-
money
yeah,
set
the
aside
level
for
of
that they
lighting in
have.
Isla Vista is the same.
That's what we should focus
So
on.
then my
Yeah.
So
question
if we want
is,
more,
Raise
we
your
want
hand
what
and
people want, we have to put money aside.
And really, we
We
unfortunately
have to, like,
have
take
a
it as a one.
enhanced level
No, the
compared to other parts of the
250,000
county.
Yeah.
Because we've
Edison just
advocated
needs
to get
use
this
it.
money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's still not
We
enough.
have, it's,
so my question is then what's the reference to like CSA
Government finances
31 and
super.
like
So-
light
So
grant?
that's a special tax on Isla Vista for lighting. That's
But
a
isn't-
separate fund for IV, that's a separate tax that's paid on lighting, but it's mainly for ongoing costs. It has a reserve of a few $100,000,
Yeah.
but that can go very fast too.
So I guess my point is
So-
then if the county has a reserve in a specific funding that they have specifically for IV lighting, my perspective on this is that I would prefer more, I know that you guys have done a lot in trying to get that from them, but maybe before putting money, like if we were to do a tax, before putting money into us improving lighting, really, really working on that and maybe even getting community members involved of like, if you care about lighting, maybe we should talk to the county about this reserve. Cause I just feel like there's so many important things IVCSD can do, and if there's already that reserve, I feel like that should be used before anything else in terms of like, and that's my perspective, but yeah.
Carrie, you had a good. Well, and there is $250,000 that's set aside for lighting in Isla Vista, but the holdup right now is with Edison. So the county and we are both pushing on that, but
Okay.
it's Edison that's holding it up. It's-
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we can also do our own lighting improvements that are not street lights, that are like on private property too, to make the lighting on the street better, where the county's not gonna spend that money on the private property enhancement. And there are a lot of areas where you can't install streetlights at all, and that no one's ever gonna do it. So we have a loophole essentially to add more lights that the county doesn't have.
Yeah, but I agree,
Yeah.
we should be taxing to supplement county services, not replace them.
Yeah, or I guess I'm saying like, I mean, I think that maybe the conclusion ends up being like, you know what, we do just need to put money into street lighting, but maybe like the first thing is like working with the county on pushing Edison and trying to see like if we can make any ground on that. And then if that's just a complete dead end and like pivoting towards improving it. on
Well,
our
their
own.
money isn't gonna solve the problem.
Yeah.
So, and I was talking to Laura Capps about that on Friday, so they're working on it right now. We're working on it right now.
I'll say, I think the 250K, that's like 5 lights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing.
So
Yes,
if
it'll
we
help,
want a
but
serious change, there needs to be a
it's
serious
a lot more
Yeah.
money.
reduction.
That's, yeah.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think those are also like, when you think of like the basic things that a city has, like you don't have the Friday night light stuff, like all of that. I think it's like the sidewalks and the lighting are the two most basic things. And like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that we're not making the decision to fund these things under these specific amounts. This is
Yeah.
meant to
Right.
just be a thought exercise.
Exactly.
This is like
About what we could
understanding
do.
the scale of how much things would cost over this 8-year period of time.
Yeah.
And, you know, ultimately, any decision to actually allocate funding would come back to the board
Yeah.
before it was allocated. So I think what you're asking for us is like, what are the areas that we're interested in out of these 4 areas of safety, public works, sustainability, community programs, and governance? And for my part, I'm certainly interested in all 4.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, yeah.
And so in terms of what would actually make it in there, because really in the actual language of the measure, we can't drill down into specific things. We have to we have to be high level. And so I think that all 4 are things that I would support.
I'd like
Yeah,
to
100%.
add on to that because, yeah, all 4 are very important. So I guess at least for me, I could throw my opinion that the second step would be the minimum, only because we miss out so many things without it. But in terms of getting this, I was like number 2 on your steps for us. Oh yeah, what board need directions on? What kind of, or number 3, we know we obviously want all of these services, but what are we willing to fund? Because then that'll
What
more
level?
color what we have to cut.
Wait.
Well,
So-
let's decide how much money we want to spend, because
Oh,
how
the
much money we
columns.
spend depends what we cut.
Yeah.
But our current budget supports some of these things.
Yes and no. right? Like our current budget has some money for Stoltopia, but not enough to run it. It's actually a pretty small amount and we were lucky this year, we moved around money that was unspent in our existing budget. That might not happen again. We got the money from AS, so Stoltopia does not have guaranteed funding right now. And so it's not guaranteed to happen in 2027. And we have some money for lighting, but it's like $8,000 to put out, and Annabelle, that was one of the program you used, right? Like the lighting distribution. It's like lower cost, but it's only a small amount of money in that pot. Yeah, I mean, we do have the parking power already. Our current tax is authorized for parking, but we don't have money to put the investment for residential parking program. Like, there's a lot to do to launch something like that. Even maybe paying consultants to get us through the coastal commission. Like that's gonna be a cost. So yeah, I like you could reallocate the current budget to do these things technically, but we don't really.
We'd have to cut.
You'd have to cut everything else. So these are really brand new things.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say that just in general, I think that of any government I've ever been aware of, we accomplish miracles at CSD, and we spend money so wisely and we get so much bang for our buck that it just seems to me like the kind of value that the community can get from us taxing at the highest level and going for broke on all these projects is incomparable. And there's just no place people get the same kind of value. And our staff has already proven that they can accomplish just miracles.
Yeah, that's true. Maya can plan the royal wedding.
But it'd be nice.
She's like, don't make me do that.
Don't push it.
Yeah, we also have an unusually tax-friendly population. Spencer?
I support somewhere that's kind of like a Goldilocks approach, sort of like, not too hot, not too cold, which I think falls somewhere in between 2 and 3. And I agree with you that we can do absolutely amazing things we do a lot with a little. And I think that this will really help to give us more that we can do. And I'm also cognizant of the fact that we are in a different cost environment than we were in 2018 when the voters adopted Measure R. And so I want to be somewhat respectful of that. By going right there in the middle, we wouldn't be adopting something that was quite as large as Measure R. And maybe give it more of a chance of passing. I'm just thinking about the survey data we saw earlier in terms of what people would pay per month.
So are you looking more 2, 3, or 2.5?
Yeah, let's call it 2.5. I could be persuaded maybe one way or another on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm personally, I feel like 2 is the safe one. Just because, like Spencer did just say, like, cost of living is probably, I would imagine, significantly higher and more burdensome than it was in 2018. And like, we definitely want it. And I think the difference between 2 and 3, while like it's substantial, it's also not like a deal breaker. And so we want to I guess it's the conservative approach to just like be sure we can get the funding. I feel like 2 is the safe bet.
Yeah, 2's the one.
So, Jonathan, do you mind showing us some differences in services for 2 and 3?
Yeah, it's mainly between sidewalks, lighting, and bus stops that change. So you're doubling the money for sidewalks and doubling the money for lighting. Like, it's the big infrastructure investment that 3 has, but 2 still has a lot of money for infrastructure, and we still go for matching funds. So that's not all the money that will be there. And I think we do really well with matching funds. But yeah, look at that, like sidewalks, 750 to 1.4 million.
Yeah. I can be persuaded to go down, but that might be more persuasive for 2.5 or 3. If it unlocks matching funds, that could be huge. And then these are our big things, right? Sidewalk and lighting. I could be persuaded there. Yeah.
I like 3. I don't know if I love the distribution.
Yeah, that's
obviously,
illustrative, yeah.
yeah, the only thing I worry about is, the more, it's kind of a weird thing, but the more that IVCSD is successful doing the things that a city does that hurt our chances going down if in fact we're going down a pathway to create a city, right? So it's kind of a catch-22. You want to be you want to have good governance, provide the community with what they deserve and need, and want. But then you also don't want to be so successful that you disincentivize a pathway towards cityhood. So that's kind of esoteric, but I think 3 is, or 2.5, that's what I thought. To really do make substantial change.
Visible.
Yeah.
Okay, we're definitely in between 2 and 3. Do you
Yeah.
have a breakdown of like the cost per resident on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
I have
would be
it.
great.
It's in the
Yeah, you showed
spreadsheet.
it
It's in the
somewhere.
spreadsheet.
And Kirsten, don't forget sidewalks and lighting, it'll take a long time to do.
Yeah,
Will
that.
take
yeah,
a
that
heck
is
of a lot.
And like maybe like there's grants for that, because I was just.
Yeah, the grants are what we would be
Yeah.
going after. Say we have 750K, will the grant put in this additional amount, and then we'll go big.
What page are you
Oh, I
looking at?
cannot.
This is on the attachments.
Okay.
And it is the second one, or the tax facts. And so you'll see, again, these are not like one-to-one comparisons, but a 2% tax, which is about the 500K, is $2 a month, $2.22 a month.
Is that level 2?
Yeah, that's level 1.
Per person.
Yes, so
Okay.
4% tax is about $1 million. That's like $4 a month. 6% tax, that's about the 1.25 level. That's scenario 3. That's $6. I mean, it's like, it's the triple letters. Yes, triple numbers. 8, 6, 4. So
And
correlates.
how much are they already paying in like?
They're paying $8.88 a month
Okay,
right now, average,
just for us.
just for the current tax. Yeah, the UUT.
Oh, this is so hard because $8 seems like nothing, but like that's just way too
Yeah,
much.
and
We could
National
make-
Art Pass, it's 84%.
We
Yeah.
can make it 550 per person.
there's
that
also
would
more
put us
incentive.
middle-ish between.
What did the survey say? Can we go back to that?
Yeah, for sure. And remember, the survey is not
Yeah,
100%, and
But
we
it's-
didn't even do a survey last time. I mean, we had to. It was life or death scenario. There was no need
Yeah.
for a survey. It's like, do you want the CSD or do you not?
Yeah, we did have, I
That
mean,
was
we
the
had
question.
town halls where we talked to people and we were capped on how high we could go. We could only go up to 8%. And the community said, we want you to go full 8.
Yeah, and remember, like, there was also like different results in the survey based on
Yeah.
how we asked it, and
It
this
seems
this
like
is not what they'll
the
see.
second one might be more accurate, the one that didn't have the monthly confusion.
Yeah, so,
Right.
and this is not what voters will see on the
Yeah.
ballot. They'll see a percent. They won't see a dollar amount. So this is like also a different number, but we can't, the percent is a weird thing to pull for because.
Yeah.
So number 4 would be 8%, so that would be 16% UUT going
Total.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So can we do 5?
Well,
So we
but
could do
it,
any number,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we're putting the cart before the horse. Answer
Yeah.
question number 4 will.
Right.
What was
Right,
question
right,
number 4?
yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get the top line and then we'll work backwards from the top line because the next thing you're giving feedback on is the variable rates. So we could do like, based on your top line priority, like let's say you want the million, but you want variable rates, we might then have to do like a 6 on some and then a 3 on another to meet that
Oh,
million
okay.
based on your preferences. Like, we're gonna tweak the exact numbers and bring you back something, but you can give us any like red lines and don't cross 7% in this, or don't do that. But
This is very hard.
it is hard.
I mean, I don't know if I feel qualified.
This is
You
what you're-
are.
That's why we're being
I know,
asked,
but
that's
I'm
why
just
we're being
saying-
asked
The
the
big
that
question.
question
Just don't
first.
say
Yeah.
Don't say that. I
Wait.
mean, this is really important.
Am I allowed to ask you guys what you would advise?
I would advise the 2.5 option. That's a great one. And again, I think what Kirsten said is like you really get an impact. Like you will see
Yeah.
real change with number 2. Like we would, Friday and Saturday nights, hopefully will be as safe as they could ever be at that
Yeah.
point.
Because the 500K doesn't even feel worth it. Like I feel
Yeah.
like we should just get
It's
that
very
out.
little stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a
I
major
agree.
change. you'd get so much money in infrastructure improvements. Like
Yeah.
our mobility plan and parking plan just have so many ideas. The community built those plans.
Right,
They just don't have money. And
Right.
Exactly.
this is what they wanted in those plans, and we get them funded.
Yeah.
The parking problem might be solved through this one because we'd be able to do the parking permit program, which
Yeah.
is not the ultimate thing, but it's pretty much the biggest thing you can do.
and it's super, super visible.
It's super visible. The
Right,
residents will get the benefit directly. You get the wave, not 100% maintained, but we take that money, we go to Goleta, be like, hey, you guys, you wanna work with us to keep this going between our two cities? You get the library money, so that's like, this one buys you 200K additional. So that's more money that comes in to run our library service. So yeah, two is for sure, you'd get a lot done. Then between 2 and 3, you just expand the scope of lights and sidewalks and bus stops.
I like 5% is a good.
Let me ask you, do you build into these scenarios the staff that's needed for these? Because is this all under current staff capacity?
Like yes and no,
Yeah,
both. Like the library one, for example, that would need staff, and that would be part of that
part of
cost.
that cost, okay,
The Soultopia too, like
Yeah.
that would have a staff cost included in it.
okay,
The infrastructure stuff, not really, because
Yeah.
we don't do it, like
Yeah.
maybe contractors and stuff, or people like
the
that,
grant writing,
grant writing.
yeah,
But that'll be a small cost, and a lot of those costs will just be buying things, or we're contracted to the county, or giving money to the county to do it. Same with the wave, like that's a contract to oversee with MTD. And the security, those are staff, but staff that we would supervise through a
Yeah.
contract as well.
no, I just want to make sure that we're making sure
Yeah.
that the staff capacity is there, or that it's built into these costs.
The one that needs the staff capacity the most is the night events.
Yeah.
That's the one that really I mean, if we've got the outreach coordinator, that might help, but yeah.
But this is why I keep pushing for a full-time position rather than part-time, because even if we start to pilot this in the fall, there's so much outreach needs to be done with that, and if I am gonna be helping supervise the new Guardian contracts, then I'm gonna need more help.
Yeah.
Would it be easier to set a top limit we won't go above?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
top line,
bring it to step 3. So is step 3 our top limit?
like 1.25-ish.
Yeah. Do we want a higher
I
top
think
limit?
I'm just worried about like if we go too high and it just fails. And then
Well,
it's
that's our
like,
top limit, just
Yeah.
for discussion, and then we can,
yeah, because
bring
I
it
just
down.
think that like 8% could sound pretty high, or like the 8.8 or like
So
even
then-
like 7.7. I don't know. I just
so
feel
then what
like
do you recommend for a top level?
maybe the 6. I
Okay.
feel like I
I
don't
feel like I
know.
agree with
So
that.
is that step 3?
Yeah, that's 1.25. It actually is 1.3 million, so you get a little more than scenario 3, but it's okay.
Okay.
That's a good thing. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. It's a little extra.
Do we have any thoughts for adjusting the top line? At step 3?
That's
No, I think it's good.
1.25.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I like 7 because then it would be a 15%.
Well, wait a second, we're not,
We're not, what,
we're
what?
talking about numbers, because we're talking about the percentages.
Yeah, sorry, no, we want to make this like super easy.
It's
So we
not
can
easy.
write so we can write the resolution based on so it's like sequence.
This
Yeah.
is, the voters are also gonna see what the total tax is going to, so we're also we're debating 12, 13, 14% too. Like that's what voters are gonna see on the ballot as
No.
well.
Oh, they won't see the.
Oh, they won't see the
combined number.
existing
They only see
8%?
the proposed percent.
Oh, so they don't even know.
So they don't even know they're already being charged 8%,
Well, they see it in their bills.
but they,
Yeah, but
Hey, auto pay is a beautiful thing.
I would love to
Wait,
see
is
your
this
bill.
on
Yeah,
the
I-
ballot?
oh wait,
I
that
would
makes
love
it
that.
significantly easier.
Yeah, if our
That's
existing
very
bill.
Yeah.
On the ballot, for the UCSB elections, there's always a breakdown of how much everything is predicted to cost you.
Yes,
Is
so-
that on, would that be on the ballot?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So here's what the voters will see. I'll show you what they'll see on the ballot itself. But then there's also the voter guide that has all the background info,
Right.
and
Oh, I
that's where
never
a
read
lot of
voter
stuff will be. And that's if they read it.
Yeah.
And there's the impartial analysis that Jamie mentioned that will be in there too. I'm trying to pull up 1 second. Here it is. So this is what Measure R looked like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll write something similar to this. This already passed, so.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in terms of like, it's a utility user tax, would that mean that like that 8% is technically being distributed amongst total residents in a house? Like if a household's paying for utilities, I mean, in Isla Vista, the majority of households are like 4+ people.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a way to frame it that way, where it's like, it's not 15% on one individual unless it's like somebody in a studio. Like it's usually distributed like.
It is still 15% on
But
the
it's like-
individual, but it's a smaller slice.
It's
of
like if
15%.
there's 18 people living in a house.
That's what the dollar amount breaks down to. So
Yeah.
we divide the top line number by the population.
Okay,
So it's not by household, it's by resident.
by resident,
Yeah.
okay,
And it is an average. Some residents will pay more, some will pay way less.
yeah.
That's pretty persuasive.
This
If
got
I saw that, I'd
84%.
vote yes.
This got 84%.
I think that the framing is gonna be really.
And then,
And the outreach.
yeah,
So-
the campaign is not in our hands, right? Like, this is what we do. We put this on the ballot and we do some general information.
Yeah.
But a separate group is a campaign that then talks to voters and asks them to vote.
Okay, so like.
Yeah,
we
but
can't-
there's a lot of advocacy, there's a lot of information
We
that you
can
can
publish
provide.
information, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, IVCSD can provide a lot of information of all the things that are gonna happen with this rate.
Yeah.
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 So it seems like we agreed that like when you're building the structure, we want to be targeting not above 1.25 million.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
100%.
Yeah.
We talked about the last things. This is the thing that I have the most thoughts on.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
And I
Great.
think this is
Well, those
where
are
you're
awesome.
like
Okay.
starting, it's because they're bifurcated. So like, I think there are a couple things that are really important when designing the structure. The first is that I do think we should have different rates for commercial versus residential. And the reason is that a lot of our profit margins
Yeah.
in commercial real estate and landlords and ILOs to do. And so there's just a greater, I think, ability, to absorb costs if it is the business owner that's absorbing the cost. The second is I think that we should have a higher rate for natural gas, methane gas. And there's a variety of reasons why. It's the biggest polluting source in our community. As already discussed, we're kind of like our revenue is kind of coupled to climate change right now. So we may as well, be trying to help accelerate the transition away from those polluting sources by having a higher tax rate.
What would you recommend?
Well, I mean, like as an example, if we were going to do, say 4% on, all the other utilities, I think the gas should be more like 10%. And then
And those will be on the ballot, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it will say gas 10, water 4.
That might be very hard for people
Yeah.
to swallow.
I
That
also
gas
just feel
is
like
higher?
the equity of like, I mean, these are all renters that have
Yeah.
no say in like whether or not they have an electric stove or like things like that. So it's just like, it's kind of putting the burden on residents.
But I feel like there's kind of a
Yeah.
standard in California that gas
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
taxed higher.
Another,
Like I expected.
another thing to consider is where our electricity is coming from, because I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of electricity is just generated from gas.
at this
Right,
point, over
so-
50% of it comes from renewable
Comes
sources. I'm going to
from-
talk to you
Yeah.
a lot about that from my other job.
But like taxing gas higher is in line with our environmental
Yeah.
goals, and I don't know how unpopular it would be in, Isla Vista to say we want to tax fossil gas more than electricity.
Gas is also by far the cheapest utility.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
based on international price.
we're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get that much revenue.
It raises the least revenue.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that this idea didn't just come, this is not my idea, this is the idea of the Isla Vista activists that
Yeah.
we're standing on the shoulders of from years and years ago, that when they were looking at cityhood, were proposing doing a tax on platform poly
Mhm.
back when it was extracting oil, and obviously it's not right now, but the idea that we would fund improvements for Isla Vista on the backs of polluters, I think is kind of like what I think is important. It's really in keeping, I think, with what our values are in Isla Vista, and will be a plus to make it easier to pass.
I completely agree. Yeah.
So you think that the average person understands that concept in Isla Vista? You don't.
I feel like you see like
Yeah.
like renewal, or how do I phrase this? But like, I feel like when people say like gas, they understand it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
And because it's understood as a bad thing, which has been like upheld by California for many years,
Mhm.
like we have this whole like electric car thing and whatnot, they understand that methane gas or like gas bad, tax higher.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that is
Yeah.
very straight up.
I mean, to the extent that Spencer described it in detail, no. But
Yeah,
to the
no.
extent that you described it, gas
Yeah.
bad, tax it more.
But
Of
yeah.
course, I mean, like, look at Cole's point. Gas is so dangerous here.
And I feel like on that note, because we have such a bad trash problem, trash should be taxed lower. Does that make sense? Would that be how it works?
Separate conversation, but we
Separate
can put a
conversation.
pin in it.
Well, what I'll say is I think it's like, I don't know if the perception is gonna be like, oh, we're taxing gas, because it's the residents paying the tax. So if a resident's saying, I'm paying 10% on this utility, like, I think they're gonna see that and not, like, I just think I mean, we saw it on the survey, like, people are really concerned about affordability and about being able to pay for the cost of living here. So I think having gas be 10%, like, I think that's a big number for a lot of people that are struggling to pay their rent. And I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, but gas is bad, because it's like, they're the ones trying to afford to live.
Another thing that's worth considering, and not like, obviously it's not what we're doing, but there is a chance that voters will assume we're taxing the gas that people use for their cars.
Well, and
Like,
can we be
that is
specific?
something that we
Yeah.
might
This is
want
a
to
question
consider.
for Jamie, can we specifically
not
call it
good.
methane? Like, can we make
That's a
it,
good
make sure?
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Like, just use
I
all of
mean,
the,
it's a tax on utilities, so it will say in all the ballot materials that it's taxing the gas of utility, and I mean, you could probably even identify what utility that is.
You could say like SoCal gas instead
You
of
can't
like.
say SoCal gas.
But we could say
maybe,
methane.
But you could say methane gas. I wouldn't know that. I just learned right now that it's methane gas.
Okay.
That's because,
But that's
that's
better
because
than
they've done like a
gasoline.
multi-billion
fossil
dollar
gas?
marketing campaign to confuse everybody.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just worried about, I think that like I mean, like, I understand this, but also it's like not all UCSB students, for one, are like environmental activists. And
Yeah.
also like not all UCSB students, and that's the majority of that's 2/3 of the population, which is why I'm referencing the students. Like, I just think that there's not gonna be that perception from everyone, and I don't think everyone's gonna see it as like, this is good for the climate agenda, because it's what they're paying. It's a tax that is coming out of their pockets, and like,
Yeah.
they already
I
can't
don't know if I
afford rent.
100%
I hear your concern, and we do have to be really careful about that dollar amount on the tax, not to scare anybody, but I feel like we're pretty established in like the environmental culture and priorities of this town, and I don't want to stop ourselves before we begin on what may or may not what may or may not pass, because like we have to be careful about cost of living, but does this mean we just never go after an environmental agenda?
Yeah.
I think there's other ways. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a 10%.
Clarification point. So on the budget responses for the if yes, what is the maximum additional amount, blah, blah, blah. The 70, like those numbers, like the 75, the 100, the 50, the 25, what does that correlate to?
Annual.
So okay.
Yeah.
So the $25 would be the first line,
The $25 is the first scenario.
the $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jonathan, do most tenants pay gas bills, or do
Yeah,
landlords?
it's almost always the tenant.
It's gas and
I don't
electric
pay
are
my-
the two.
I don't pay my gas bill.
I don't pay my gas.
I don't
So
pay.
I just did not see maybe about how it would incentivize the landlords to switch out gas if they're not paying it, the tenants are.
I mean, I think it varies. I don't pay my gas bill. My
Yeah, I don't.
landlord
I
does.
don't
pay my gas
either.
bill either.
And
I never have
most
it,
of the places, because we were just looking for a new place to move into, I think I saw maybe 2 places out of like 100 that had that paid for gas.
Yeah.
It is very, very
Yeah,
rare.
I've never paid for gas ever. Sorry,
I've-
you've had a hand for a while.
Yeah, I just, I want to get back to what we're trying to do here. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise funding for priority programs. And what I worry about is that if we bifurcate and create variabilities of different utilities, that with numbers that are high, even though we know that it's a low amount of money, that it will scare people. And I think we really need to focus on what our main objective is, and that is to get funding for our priority programs. And I think we should make that path as easy as possible. I hear about the environmental agenda and the environmental significance of gas, but I worry that we're trying to, if we're really focused on just getting this revenue, to create a separate message on environmental stewardship. I worry that we may not have the time to make that distinction. And I just don't want to jeopardize the tax or the passage. So that's what I worry about. And I don't like the idea of creating a higher tax on gas.
So you,
Now,
what would
now.
would you say you want everything to be the same amount?
Yeah, for simplicity.
I do think that, okay, going back to my other point, that trash needs to be low. I think that makes sense, right? Because like we have a huge trash problem. People are already unwilling to buy the higher trash packages.
That's changing.
Oh, it
That's
is.
gonna be
Oh,
mandated to the landlord now. So
Yeah.
the tenants will not be paying the trash bill moving forward. except
Okay,
homeowners.
then maybe not. Who cares?
Yeah, so my, can I respond to Kirsten's?
Here we
sort of
go.
thing?
Too late.
So I also view this as critical for the political or for the passage argument. And the reason why is that there's a lot of polling that shows that people perceive their electricity rates as going up very high. And I know this very well because of my new job. And so I worry that if we were to do a flat tax that led with electric, it would be a higher number there that people would see. If people see that we're doing a lower number on water, electric, trash, and wastewater, and then that it's a higher one on gas, I think that, to the point, I think that you made, Annabelle, or that someone made, that like the gas already is the lowest cost, right?
Do people know that? Does the average person know that?
I don't.
No.
I think,
No.
I would disagree with you. I
Usually
think there's
one resident
a lot
pays
of public opinion polling where people have pretty good perceptions of how much things cost, even though they can't put numbers to it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you think the average person, the average student in IB knows that they pay less on gas than on electricity?
No,
Well,
we
not
don't know,
not
but we
everyone
can't assume
knows.
the answer is no.
What?
We can't assume the answer is no, because in all of these hypothetical questions, does the average person know? Our assumption that we're comfortable running with is that they don't know and they can't learn.
Well, I think that
Wait,
it's
what?
important to acknowledge that we are in a unique community where like the average resident isn't paying the utility bills. It's usually one resident pays it and then everyone else like Venmos or whatever. Like this is a unique place. So I think we need to consider that. And I think we also need to consider the survey, which said housing affordability, like those kinds of things. I think that as much as I agree with the idea of doing a higher rate for certain utilities, I think that the number is going to stand out more than the environmental message behind it.
Yeah.
And I think
Wait,
that
what
the
was the
main
breakdown of
goal,
people who said that they would be what percentage of people said that they would not support additional tax?
20. Oh, the total no,
Was
hard no was
27?
10%. Hard no is
Okay.
10%.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and I think as a lot of people have mentioned, like, we can't read too much into that because it's not statistically significant.
Yeah.
Because you said earlier it was only 123 people.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a helpful reference point to see, where people are at. It seems like we're, from the fact that it's such an even split, it makes me think that we're like kind of in the right ballpark,
Spencer, were you suggesting like the coupling, so it would be an increase in the percent on gas and then this would couple with a reduce in the percentage on the other things?
Well, so there's two things that I think are important. The first is that I think that we have a different rate for our commercial customers than residential. And the reason why is that a small business has a lot slimmer profit margins than the commercial landlords do. And the second being that I think that the business community is one that is really important partner and continues to be engaged. They were at our town hall advocating for the tax. And we don't see that from residential property owners.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is sort of the question of differentiating between utilities in terms of gas, which I think, we've set a revenue goal that's, on the higher, it's not on the higher end, it's in the medium end, but I think that in order, we aren't looking at the math the way that Jonathan's gonna have to look at the math. In order for us to meet that goal and not go over 10% on any one of the utilities, that I think that we're gonna need to have a higher rate on gas.
The rate on gas doesn't change the amount of revenue that much.
Right,
You can have
It's so
0
low.
or 10, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be the same top line number.
Yeah.
Because the gas is 1/60 of our current
Yeah.
mix. So it is the gas thing is its own thing, sort of thing. It's not gonna change. It's only, what, 11% of our revenue, the gas. It's the smallest.
Because if we're concerned on one side of the coin, a higher number for gas is gonna freak people out. Would a lower number for electricity make
What-
people
What I
happier?
was gonna say is that
That's
like
what
the
I was-
number on gas would have to be significantly higher to
For that to
compensate
happen.
for any
Yeah,
reduction
right.
in electricity.
I think you're correct. We're like, if we're gonna do like a 6%er or 5%, making the gas 10 isn't gonna make the other ones 3.
For,
Yeah,
'cause for
right.
my
Yeah.
house, like gas is like 20% of electricity in terms of cost. Like it's like a very, very big difference.
Mhm.
This is another view of it. Like,
I do like the idea, Spencer, I do like one of your ideas. I do
All
like
right.
the idea of having a different rate for the small businesses. Can we bifurcate the smaller businesses from the larger,
no, commercial and residential.
only commercial?
You
So
can't
we
do
can't,
small and large.
we can't do small.
Yeah, you
And
can't
do
say.
we have
We
a
only really
rationale
feel like
that's
they're all
non-discriminatory?
Oh, right.
For
And-
residential
Wait, what would it
versus
be a
commercial?
But they're residential.
Oh, I see.
Uh,
Corporate
yeah,
landlords,
yeah.
residential. Okay, I was thinking property.
No, yeah, you can't say like Wingstop pays more than.
Okay.
No. No.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
If we're making the commercial tax lower, would that need to be compensated by a higher tax for residential?
Not really, because the commercial is also like such a little baby percent. It's only 22% of the tax. So if you had it lower, it wouldn't change that much.
Because that was my worry, is like if we're trying to like start switching that up and it just becomes even higher for residential.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I do agree with Kristen about just the core of this is that we're trying to pass something that could raise more funds for IVCSD, and I think that that should come before any environmental agenda. That's my perspective on it, but.
Do you have questions? And it tied into mine. So on the actual ballot or packet that no one reads,
Well, everyone will read the
I know,
ballot
I know.
measure.
The
packet, no
packet.
one will read, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So two questions. One, your first question on that actual there. Will we see that there is a different rate for residential versus commercial?
On the ballot measure, they will. But
Okay.
remember, you have only 75 words. So
Right.
the variable rates add more words too.
Okay. And
So we could just not say we have variable rates.
You have to say the
Oh.
variable.
okay, so if we vary,
You're paying your
That's
bills.
a crazy
Yeah.
idea.
It's why.
The words could go to, like, you have limited words.
Yeah.
And so you can list services areas, you can list the exemption stuff, you can list the variable rates, but you're capped at the
Mhm.
words.
but we have to say gas.
That's like even saying
this
natural
percent for
gas to
electric.
gas,
Yeah.
that's
We
one
lose
word.
something.
You lose a word.
Yeah.
somewhere
Well, that's why
else.
methane,
Yeah.
it's more accurate.
I definitely like that because I'm worried that people.
Yeah.
Right, so
we're
could we
taxing
just-
the pump.
Could we just say, electricity this, trash this, methane this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Good, do we
That's
even
what
have to
James
say
said,
gas?
yeah.
Would that work?
Yeah.
You think?
methane is
why?
what it
But
is.
why?
And
Why?
natural
What's
gas is
the
a
point of that?
fake.
Because
The
we're
point is because
not
methane's
saying
killing
gas.
us.
Make it one word.
But I don't
Instead of
think
saying
that's the point of what
instead of
this
saying
is.
gas or saying methane gas, you just say methane.
No, but I'm saying, why not just say, it's an 8% tax on utilities?
you have to list them.
You
You have to list all the utilities?
Yeah, we
Oh,
listed them last
okay,
time.
sorry,
Even
Got
if
it.
they all have the same exact rate.
Yeah, but you
So
say
you could be
8%.
water,
Because
trash,
there's
Oh, I
and
see.
water.
There's
Yeah.
one utility we're not authorized to tax, which is telecoms.
Yeah.
Ah,
We're the
So,
only
yeah,
one. who
That's
doesn't
why
have that.
we listed.
that's what we need to do. That should be a
We
priority.
can fight
Well.
AT&T.
To go to the legislature.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, they took it out when they were.
I mean, what if we did okay, we're doing probably between a 4% and a 6% tax. So what if we just did something not I think we shouldn't go into double digits. I
No.
feel like that's when it gets
Okay, that's a
crazy.
good red line for.
But
to
if you
hear,
put,
yeah,
like,
no double
yeah.
digits.
8% for
Right.
gas.
Could we do a 5% electric, 8% gas? Because it's not
It's
above
not gonna
10.
raise any
Yeah,
money.
I don't think it's.
You're
worth
making a
it.
policy statement for
Wait,
nothing.
why?
because they explained that the electric has,
Yeah,
it's such a
I
larger
just-
source of
I agree
revenue.
with you.
It's like at that point, you might as well leave them all the same, and that way people aren't like, oh, why is this
Wait, I
one
don't
higher?
get that.
Because
Gas is
electricity is a
super cheap.
higher portion of the revenue, so the
Yeah.
taxes are gonna bring in higher.
Yeah, but we would keep that the standard and then
I
But
think-
doing
raise the
5/8
worst
not
thing.
gonna make a
I think that
difference.
we're, to a certain extent, we're all just saying what we assume because we can't see the numbers. I think that we've given Jonathan like a bunch of good discussion for him to consider. And maybe the last thing we can ask him to consider is to bring back one that's differentiated and one that's not, sort of the best stab at doing both, so that we can actually see what it looks like now that we gave him the goal for how much revenue we want to raise.
Yeah.
And then we've shared kind of our thoughts.
Two
about-
versions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do two versions and how much each one will have.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But it does seem, so does it seem like there's agreement on commercial versus residential being separated? Do we all
I
agree on that?
think,
I think you
I
said
think
it
it
earlier.
makes sense, but I'm curious also about like what the businesses think, because I know that there was a business owner that came to the
Well, this
town
is what we're
hall,
basing it off of.
but that was one business owner. So I'm curious,
yeah.
like what kind of outreach, maybe, or like even if we just ask, like, what kind of tax would these businesses be open to? Because if they're open to the same tax we do on residential, then I feel like we should just keep it the same for simplicity. But if they're saying like, we don't think we could do that, then we could do a variable. Because that was one person.
Would it
that
be
spoke.
weird to
He's the head of
assume
the
that like?
association.
Yeah. I think this, for simplicity, we're
Of the business.
painting the community with too broad of a brush and assuming they need simplicity for everything.
Yeah, but it's still the
But
best
I
thing.
Let's
think-
drill down and figure
like,
out first.
If I'm a student and I see that like the businesses are getting a break, like I
Yeah.
feel like I would be a little like, come on.
Well, that's
like,
a
are you
better
kidding
reason
me?
than
Like stuff
simplicity,
is so
though.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there any way to find out? Because we're saying, what will the community think about this? What will the community think about that?
No
We
one's gonna
don't
say, yeah,
know.
tax me more.
Yeah,
Well,
I just,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
totally
he
agree.
kind of
That's
did.
it's a.
Please, affordability is my top concern, but please tax me
Yeah.
Yeah,
more.
but the same people who were saying affordability was their top concern were also saying that they would be fine with like paying an extra $25 to $75 a year.
Right, so I'm just
So I
saying, can
feel
we
like
find
that's
out
People
from the
have
community
conflicting-
before making
people will tell us
assumptions?
Exactly. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
I
not
feel
much
like-
we can find out in 10 days.
Yeah.
Between now and June 23rd.
Do you think there's any way to hear from businesses within those?
We did.
companies?
We can ask them, I mean, what question do you
gonna-
wanna ask? Like, do you want a lower rate?
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
maybe just say like, maybe present a higher rate, like, or the 8% and 6%, and ask like, which one is more tolerable? And then if they say six
then
and
it's
we're
gonna
already,
be
if they
unanimously
say six and we're
Yeah.
already doing six,
I
we weren't going
I
for
think
8
that's
anyways. We already
Yeah.
said that we were more into the 6. So if we present higher than we're already thinking, and they say 6 is good, then that's like, okay, they'd all be down for 6.
but I don't know if
But
that's
he-
necessarily we're
That's
down
like
for
false
6.
choice.
It's just like
Right.
you're
Yeah.
giving us.
Do you have a
Yeah.
sense, Jonathan, about what an average utility bill would be for a commercial place? Would they be
It's a lot.
thousands of
It's a
dollars?
lot. I mean,
I
they
feel like
pay
that would be a good question to
more
ask.
for utilities than residents do.
So
'cause
their
they have
rates
the
are higher.
Electricity and gas always
And
running.
it's even
Yeah.
built
I
into
only
the,
cook once a day.
built into the rates. They have higher usage and it's built into the rates that they pay more than residential customers are subsidized.
And yeah,
At
a
least
lot of
in
these
Ohio.
rents are like triple net leases, so like the utilities are covered in the rent.
Mhm.
I mean, it's complicated. There's no one way it happens.
Mhm. So short of asking the businesses, what we do know from them is that Mesa Pizza, in whether or not the other business like it or not, as head of the business association, came to the town hall and gave us his speech. So like,
Wait, what was he
what
saying
else are
again?
we going off of?
He
if
was
not the
pushing for
public
a
comment.
sales tax and saying he supports a new tax on services.
Yeah, I guess my question is, how representative is that?
Well, it's not, but what
Doesn't-
other information do we go off of? And if we want more representative information, how do we get it?
Yeah, I mean, we've been through this with the Soultopia conversation where, we had some folks that said we didn't do enough outreach, even though like Maya worked her butt off to do as
Yeah.
much outreach as possible. There's just not
They'll
a
never be
way
happy.
that we can
Wait, what are we
necessarily
debating?
reach everybody. And I think
Uh,
there is something to be said when
Commercial tax.
an organization or one person who supposes to speak for others actually wants to engage in the process, because we don't usually get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, I'm more comfortable making decisions off of what someone did come to tell us at public comment as opposed to what we imagine the community thinks.
So I wasn't there for that. So the Mesa Pizza person said that they are supportive of a
Yeah.
tax for
Mhm.
community services.
Yeah.
And he
Well, I don't
represents
know
the
if he said
business association.
He said that,
He
yeah.
Oh, did he?
And
Yeah.
city, I think
I-
he mentioned city for
He did say
Yeah.
he was
He's privately said that.
He did say that he was speaking for the business association, but I'm unclear on what that actually is, what businesses are represented.
Yeah.
So that's where my concern is, like, I don't think we can just take that and say like, oh, well, the business association person came and said this. I think that at least if they're, I guess my question to you guys is like, is it feasible in the next 10 days to just try and see if we get any responses from businesses?
Yeah, but like, what question do we
Right, like
ask?
what would clarity
We could-
look like?
We could survey them on what their costs might be, but again, it's like, what are we aiming towards doing? And so that drives the question of what we would do.
I mean, you could phrase it completely separate from the tax, and you could just ask them, how are business operations? Like,
Yeah, no.
you know,
we could ask
what's
them
the current,
costs.
what's the current?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
because
I
what
feel like
answer are you looking
prognosis
for?
of
And
But
what
more
would-
of the
what's-
question is
what
like, can you
policy
afford
question?
this? Like, if we
Yeah.
tax you more, will you be able to afford
They're
this?
gonna say
No
no.
one is.
Yeah,
going-
they're
you
gonna
have to
pass
make-
the
But we can
price
figure
into
that out
their-
for them if they
They'll
just give
push
us
the price,
They're
they'll
not-
put it into their prices,
That's
right?
true.
Like, that's what any business owner would do.
Okay, Spencer, what would you propose for the differences? Because I feel like any question we ask is gonna be so biased and like,
Unless
It's
it's
not.
part of, unless you know, there was this big outcry, right, from some businesses after Soutopia that didn't feel like they were involved. And this is if, which I don't think it's a good idea, but if in fact you wanted to go query businesses, it's a way to follow up with them post Soutopia, to check in with them
yeah,
on how their business is going, what's
Yeah, yeah,
working,
yeah,
what's not working. Are there things that IVCSD can do to support you? If you did something like
I
that,
agree with that.
you would have a conversation or get some information that tells you a snapshot of their business.
yeah.
And then we can then say, oh, business is great. Okay, well, they may be able to absorb.
Yeah.
a tax.
I think that should be done maybe even separately to the tax thing. And I don't know if we can get that much done in 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
so
I think this is more of a problem of like, we're on a
We are.
timeline.
Yeah.
We're on
And
time.
talking to the businesses doesn't really fit into our time.
It's
Mhm.
not
No, it
super
doesn't.
Right,
easy
so
to
my-
do. And
yeah,
one thing
I
to know is
agree.
that there's in the spending plan, in this potential way of using the tax, a lot of money goes back to the businesses in cash,
hmm
right? Like the Friday Night Live,
Right, yeah.
that's $5,000 a Friday for
right.
a business to grab. Same with Soultopia, that'll be money back into the, like, there's economic
good point.
development
Yeah.
in the tax
Yeah,
spending.
That's
and that's part of our
fantastic.
outreach when we talk about this, providing information.
I think we need
Yeah.
to, and we also need to phrase it as, we need more money to provide more for you guys. And like I think as we get closer to like the actual election, we would need to go to the businesses and be like, hey, like, yes, we are taxing you, but like, with this money, we can provide so much more back
Yeah.
to
But
you.
also
And-
remember the parking, because that was a big issue for them, because there's not parking permits, they're not getting more customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that,
Yeah.
and then there's also the cityhood issue. We haven't really mentioned this yet, but one thing a new tax will do is plug a future city's budget deficit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A city needs to be financially feasible.
And-
and-
Right.
Dare I say that should be like the star of the actual show, because I feel like all of the services like sound really good, but like everyone, or not everyone, but a very good amount of the people understand now that cityhood is what we should be aiming for. And looking at like the AS elections where a lot of people ran on that, like I
Oh,
feel
yeah?
like
That's
that
good to know.
it sounds good. People know city more things better, like we should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
we
is one of
can,
the uses.
we
the
can-
cityhood.
can we, I'm looking at our council, can we put like, incorporation application in the measure and the description?
Let's say cityhood, not
measure?
incorporation.
Oh, you can't put in the measure.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Might be tough to put it in the measure.
But in the
But that's what
campaign.
funding
we
would go
can
for.
do
The
that.
campaign can do whatever it wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like our
In the
campaign should be
ballot
very heavy
materials,
on the
yes.
city.
No.
If that's, if we're,
The
if we're listing, like in the previous one, how it listed all of those different things.
Yeah.
Then I guess, yeah, sure.
Say cityhood application.
So like to wrap up, kind of like, I think what we've heard, like in terms of the two options that Jonathan brings back, it's number one, a flat tax across all utilities, but different flat rates for commercial versus residential. And then option two is higher on gas than the other utilities, but different commercial versus residential.
What else
I
is
would
usually
add-
higher?
I would add a third one. I would like to just see it flat,
Yeah,
just flat
So
for
three options.
business,
So,
three,
okay.
business,
So
residential, just flat.
I'm happy to do that. Of course,
However.
we're happy to do that,
Yes,
but
sorry.
what it worked well for us when we did the SBCC bond measure, we
Uh-huh.
had three options for the board.
Uh-huh.
We had the lowest one, like continuing, we had the high bond, and then we had like smaller new bond.
Yeah,
That was good for the board to make a choice, and then the voters will know you made that choice. too.
yeah.
That's like part of the
yeah.
information.
So we're doing
I'm
something
happy with
a
the
little different
I
than, we're
100%
saying
agree.
taxing on different
Happy with
people.
the-
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still choices.
three options.
Yeah, it's still choices, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see just a straight tax.
Okay, so
Yeah, all.
one like Measure R,
Yeah,
one with commercial and residential split, and
Yeah.
one with utility split.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
commercial.
And commercial,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Are
the
we all-
Ultimate.
the rate we kind of agreed on was 5% between
Yeah.
4 and 6.
Well,
Yeah.
1
what
million,
the-
1.25 million.
Yeah, what we
Yeah.
agreed on is 1.25
Yeah.
million, and now Jonathan has to crunch the number.
might be like
Oh, I
five
see.
point
1.25
two or
million is
something.
our highest.
Yeah, let's aim
Yeah.
around that number.
And
Yeah.
we're not going any higher than 9% for anything.
Yeah,
Yes.
red line is
I thought it was
double
at 10.
digits.
No.
No,
we
red
do
line
not
is at
want
9.
We don't want double digits.
10 is so
So
scary.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I would
Yeah,
agree with
yeah.
and when you bring us back these, we could tweak it a little
You
bit more
can,
through the
you can,
amendment.
Yeah.
yeah.
We
during
can
the
have this
board
whole
meeting
thing
when you
over
vote,
again.
You
Yeah.
can say not
Stay
this,
as
not
long as
that,
you want.
change this word.
Can we also give
The
us
nights,
like an
yeah.
actual timeline of what needs to be done by when?
It's
This is
next
it.
board meeting.
Oh,
That's
right
it.
now.
Like
Yeah,
tomorrow?
and then we turn in the application,
Not
no,
tomorrow.
the 23rd.
Okay,
We turn in the
Wow.
application to the county the next day and we're done.
but is there like a due date?
Wow.
The due
So,
date is the next day.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Do we have to have language for the ballot?
it's easy. Yeah, it's already almost there, yeah.
So
That's what we're
everything will
doing
be-
right now.
Yeah, everything
know,
will
it's
be
just
prepped
amazing.
and then it'll just be a plug and play with the numbers
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah.
so we.
Wow.
We
we
already
have
did Measure R. It's
That's
all the same.
four.
Got it,
Yeah,
got it.
I just want to put out there as a side note with that timeline that like me and Annabelle do not have a place to live on the 23rd. So that's just
Yeah,
something to
let's-
keep in
let's-
mind.
You want, I
You
got a
know, but
couch.
I'm just saying,
Our-
like,
oh,
well, we
yes, our
have,
Your girls
we
have
have
a couch.
leases, but we have subleasers until the 23rd. So the issue
I don't
is
have a
that,
spot in mine.
the issue is
Yeah,
that like
let's talk
for
after.
quorum,
this is
and
not a
just, like,
retreat discussion.
Chat with
Yeah.
me and.
I'm just saying.
Can sleep on my couch.
Can I?
Okay, so we're good here. Lunch is here and we have a worksheet for you guys to fill out during lunch. Do you want to get the instructions on the worksheet first or do you want to get lunch first?
Lunch.
Lunch.
They say
alright,
lunch.
go ahead.
The people say lunch.
Okay, so everybody has a
Mhm.
worksheet in front of them. It's a lot of pages. So it's
I'm
pretty
ready.
easy to be able to look at. And what's in this is a list of, this
I didn't even
is
know we had all this stuff.
not what I.
Is it not it?
No, it's just, it has Henry and Constance listed on here.
Outreach, right?
Mhm.
Then that would fit in if we have another category of people that are adjacent, IB adjacent, right?
I-
So, yeah,
I think it would be a good idea to make another list that's like just UCSD,
Yeah.
all the clubs, and like for the future, and I'll help out with this.
This is
Um, all the departments,
The
like
departments, yeah,
academics
that's
that
a
we can
separate
do.
effort, but this is
Yeah.
Okay.
community, Isla Vista community members.
Okay.
Yeah.
relations. Yeah,
But
okay.
that's a good idea, and I can hit up all the grads.
so, yeah, work on this, look at it, there's a lot of different groups. And it's just a lunch activity, so we're pretty much done at this point. It's just fill this in, turn it back in, and we'll do follow-ups.
And
Is there any extras?
Oh, you can have one.
what do you think and we're gonna be doing?
Take them to coffee, go meet with them. That's the idea, is like, get to know these people or this group. Have a face to the name, and multiple faces to the name. Like I said, they might know our staff members, they might know different people, but it's good for them to know a board member so they can go to somebody if they had an issue. You know, that's
Yeah.
like a city council
I
function,
like this.
right? So-
I remember asking for this. And it's better than what I asked for. Yeah, but we could do that.
And all the businesses, we don't really have a name of a contact.
Oh, don't worry about
The
that.
Greek scare.
This is just to get your sign up. We will then, once we have who's doing who,
Oh, then
we
you
will
get
get
more
back to you
information.
with, how to contact them. Yeah,
I
don't,
don't-
I'm gonna have to turn mine in late.
Yeah, you doing
I'll-
In the
I'll-
future,
I don't know if it makes sense for
Bye,
me to do this,
everybody.
but also,
See
Oh,
you later.
bye, Spencer.
one category
We'll
that's
get a
missing are
drink in a
the
couple weeks, yeah?
professional
Yeah.
fraternities and sororities.
Okay, I'll. put
Because
those in.
I think that's a pretty.
Ooh, the pre-prof, yeah, the,
Like PAD, DK, ROSI.
yeah, no, you're
Some
totally
of them
right.
are, some
The
of them are,
professional
but not all of
clubs meet so much.
Yeah.
Like the bio people, they meet all the
Mhm.
freaking
I think
time.
those ones are a big group.
I thought you had the like French honor society and the Greek thing, and I was like, leave. There's
Don't
no
think
one
so,
in
maybe.
that.
What we could also do for future back burner is if we make one for UCSB, we can also do one for all of people we share constituencies with. Because when you said coffee, I was like, yeah, we have to get coffee with all these different government agencies and stuff, but
Wait, I feel like you
in the
could just
future.
like hit them with an email, like explaining
That's a
what
lot
we
of
do.
coffee.
Yeah, I feel like you should like send out an email explaining what we do, and then like have all of the like what we're trying to like
Yeah.
go for and whatnot,
Yeah.
and then be like, if you have additional questions or would like to meet, like
Mhm.
text me.
Yeah, we can make a template for you guys. We'll set it up for you. We just want to know who you want to be on, and then we'll, you know, if it's a more Instagram group, we'll tell you like contact them on Instagram only. If it's an email group, we'll tell you that.
Does it make so much sense for me to be doing this though?
No,
I mean, unless there's like a group you're really tight
this
with
is
that
a
you
free
can
lunch.
talk like really, quickly with, maybe like somebody like, let me get in this, but otherwise it's okay.
Just think of stuff we've missed.
What's the
Well,
idea?
that's, those are the pre-professional ones.
Should we be signing up for 20 each?
Sign up
I'm
as many
signing
as
up
you'd
for
like.
every
Sign up
single
for
UCSB like
as many as
Some
you want.
people. And this
Yeah.
is like not all gonna happen ASAP, like let's say it's a summer,
Except
fall
you're not allowed to
project,
meet with campus
so-
transport, mostly campus Republicans.
like this.
Yeah, who?
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna put my name down for somebody.
No!
Oh, yeah, we'll
Action,
look at
you'll-
duplicates, yeah, don't worry about that.
I mean, I probably can and I will, but I'll make Spencer go with me.
Refuse to do that.
I'll make Spencer go with me. I want to go to one.
There are many people I see in all of these organizations.
The Communication Association, actually, you should let me take that one.
You should. sign up.
It was-
I
it was-
assuming
you can
you'd
have
It
sign
was
up
signed
for
up by,
that
I was like, I know who founded it. It was Karen, and she's gonna give me an ad code for the fall, so. Okay. Is what's me.
You can have EAB.
Is Circle K not a gas station?
I thought the same thing.
It's
Is it
a
not?
volunteer organization.
Oh.
They got a new name. They need it.
It's like the Rotary Club, but at college.
Oh,
Oh, I love the Rotary
then sign up for Circle K.
Club. No.
Central
I was thinking I
American
would take
student
this.
association.
I can go to this many coffees.
I don't.
I could do the frats.
Over like 6
I
months.
mean, you know what?
once a month?
If I did
If I
all of
don't
this.
Oh, not
Okay,
all of
so-
them. Oh, no, no one should do all of them.
I just get,
Oh,
yeah.
I did sign up for all of them for me. I've signed up for all the nonprofits.
Okay, that's. No, there's like 6.
But I feel like they have a higher rate.
That's
of
a lot.
I don't even know how to differentiate between them.
Yeah, because.
We tried to put the street they're on.
Oh, is that why you did
Yeah,
that?
because
Oh,
this is like
that's
visually
so
like,
smart.
This
Jenna's
video,
already-
I wanna do this section on the other tree.
Oh, because
Yeah.
we're walking.
More
Yeah.
We're walking to walk in the.
No, I-
This is like you.
And I
you
thought
pre-read
you
stuff.
January 5th.
So I
Yeah.
have to be anyway. That would not.
I just don't want me to do that. That guy leaves me the
We're on YouTube.
longest.
We're on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mason pizza would be a good idea. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna try to beat traffic.
Yeah.
Oh, say hello to your little boy.
You gotta get back to the baby.
I do, yes.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bye.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you, thank you.
Have
Thank you for the
fun.
Really good analysis.
Where's the
PowerPoint.
To the baby.
Yeah, hopefully that memo.
She's
helpful.
moving
The
Yes.
child. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, they're still in the meeting.
No, I'm saying goodbye to Vivi tonight. I'm so sad.
Do you guys know that, we are being recorded as we eat?
Yes,
Right.
I do not know that.
We're still in the board meeting.
we're filling out the workshop
It's
at
still a meeting. yeah.
public.
We couldn't
can
do
have
this
the-
not recorded.
Okay, got it.
Like, we couldn't be on, like, having a lunch and doing business like this.
I'm actually gonna go back and everything you said.
Shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm gonna pick all the restaurants that I wanna get something.
You know, we have,
So are we like swamped for the
donuts?
coffee? Like if we
you
take,
have to put budget for that as a board. So I
When's the
don't, I
finance
couldn't
committee
comp that.
meeting?
You guys could comp it maybe
when's the finance meeting?
on
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
If you ever have to get coffee with someone but don't want to like spend money, get hot water and make sure they put a lid on top of it because they won't know that you're not drinking anything.
That's hilarious.
I love you so much.
Well, just put a little packet. Okay, I'm gonna do
I
counseling
bring my own
because,
tea
maybe
everywhere.
it's for lunch for me.
Can I just become a client?
Yeah,
All of your-
could we have a little session and then I'll tell you? You can help me with all my issues.
I guess I'll just sign up for everything. Why not?
Well, there's something about it.
I can do all the environmental orgs because I already either on them or
Yeah, I
know
left
the
them.
leadership.
Perfect.
None of my organizations are here, funny enough.
Well, then add
We can add
them.
them, yeah, just write them
Oh.
Add
in.
them.
This is not exhaustive.
I wrote some edits because there's some that have changed, like I think maybe their information online is outdated,
Yeah, this is just from the UCSB OSL website, so.
which I don't think.
On the
I
group link.
found that there's a lot of websites that are really outdated.
Yeah.
I actually saw on the, I don't know if it was like the,
Oh,
it's
don't
like
make me talk about
IVCSD, like there's like a document about their responsibilities. And it said that they're supposed to attend IVCSD board meetings.
Right, one of the staff of the EVCLA.
Yeah,
Like
there's
every
one person that's supposed to go twice a month.
Maybe they don't have that role filled. Maybe like no one's been up.
No, there's someone in that job.
They could watch the YouTube meeting and.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. What's Oakberry? Oak-
Oh, it's an Osage.
It's next to Rusty's. It's on
Oh.
Cordell. It's like kind of a hidden tucked away place.
It's a chain.
National chain.
Yeah, that's the only reason they're in business still.
That's where
'Cause they're a
LCD
national
is.
chain.
Wait, people go there, no?
LCD.
Do they?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I've never
so.
seen anybody out
It's
there.
like
It's LCD.
ridiculously expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
they're
never
really
seen
good.
anybody
There's
inside
one,
there. They just have that like hanging egg chair in the window.
The one on.
The egg chair sounds nice.
That's the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to my son.
I just got my sidewalk and I was in wonder.
So can we leave whenever we're done?
We should just like formally adjourn the meeting at some point, so we can do that in like a few minutes and.
Yeah, I just have to drop off the key to.
I mean, if we think we're like done pretty much, Catherine, you can adjourn the meeting.
I'm definitely doing the crafters library. Has anyone been?
No,
I stepped inside for a second.
Is
Yeah.
it super cool?
It's pretty cool, actually.
Trigo.
Yeah, I hope they survive,
I
because it looks
hope
like
they
there's a lot of effort and money into
That's
that.
They
cute.
haven't?
They have,
Oh, they have.
so,
He's such a great guy.
you wanna adjourn the meeting?
Yeah. We will now adjourn this meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will take place on June 9th, tomorrow, at 6 p.m. on Zoom and here in the community room at 970 Embarcadero Del Mar in IV.
Awesomely awesome. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, everyone.
What?
We're